Hello everybody and welcome to a whole new generation. It is season 9 for ABB FIA Formula E's World Championship. Generation 3 is about to get underway. We're an hour away until those red lights go out, and joining me in the commentary box is Edward Hunter and Nick Homewood, and Mark Preston, who is the DS Techeetah team principal, now Techeetah team principal. We're going to be putting all the questions to him in the next half hour before the cars head to the grid. It's all change. We had an interesting qualifying as well, but the calendar looks even better. Let's take a look at where we're heading in 7 months. So it all starts here in Mexico City as well. I was just looking at downtown Mexico. That's today on the 14th of January. Next up is a double header. The 27th and 28th of January, we go to Diriyah in Saudi Arabia as well. Then new venues. On the 11th of February, we go to Hyderabad in India as well. 25th of February as well, we are in Cape Town, South Africa. It's going to be a brand new location as well. Same day as F1 testing. We will still be live. Then for round 6 of the season, the last of the new races before we start, it is the 25th of March for the Sao Paulo EPrix at Brazil. Then, for the first time, we head over to Europe for a double header. The Berlin Autodrome we'll see on the 22nd and 23rd of April. Monaco will be on the 6th of May on the full Grand Prix out for round 9. Double header now for Jakarta on the 3rd and 4th of June for rounds 10 and 11. Hopefully we'll be trackside in Portland on the 24th of June for round 12 as well. And then on rounds 13, 14, a double header in Rome, Italy, 15th and 16th of July. And the season rounds out. Same weekend as the Hungarian Grand Prix, but we'll be live. London calling. It's the start of a whole new era for ABB FIA Formula E. 100 races, we had Gen 1 and Gen 2, now to launches into the future for the next 100th, Generation 3. We've got 100 kilowatts more power than last year. We've got more exciting opportunities in terms of strategy with attack mode. Everything is looking good to be one of the best seasons we've ever seen. 9 years done, and we've had so many different champions, and responsible for at least 3 of those championships and 2 drivers and constructors as well. Mark Preston joins us in the commentary box. Mark, pleasure to have you here. I know you would much rather be in Mexico City right now as well, but honestly, we all cannot thank you enough for joining us in the commentary box. How are you tonight?
Very good. I did say it's quite cold in Mexico today, so it's probably as bad as here. Maybe not as bad as being in England, but yeah, it doesn't look that super warm, does it?
No, it was very cold this morning as well. 5-degree track temperature in the second practice session as well. And even though they did go faster, Dennis's time did get deleted, so that was a bit of a shame as well. Alongside us, also in the commentary box, is our usual Edward Hunter as well. Ed, back for a 3rd year. He can't seem to let Formula E go in the commentary capacity as well. Are you looking forward to it? We had an interesting qualifying earlier on, and it set us up for a very interesting race.
Indeed it did, Josh, and Mark's very right to mention the colder temperatures because that's going to have an effect on a tyre warm-up. We saw it a little bit in FP2, some of the drivers weaving from left to right to try and keep the tyres in the prime operating window, I guess. And certainly qualifying was a bit of a mix-up. A lot of drivers we expected to be up the front weren't up the front, and some surprises from some of the less fancied runners and the rookies putting in great shows. So I think it's going to be very, very exciting to see who ends up where and how they get there.
And our ERC race driver and race director, Nick Homewood, joins us as well. Nick, pleasure to have you back as always. Coming in, you've driven Gen 1 and Gen 2 on the simulator as well. They're quite very closely matched and based off it as well. Gen 3 is a whole different kettle of fish as well. We've seen drivers struggling, not only with the new braking system that's caught everybody out, but also with the fact is that you've got to get used to the new tyres, new attack modes, everything. What are you most looking forward to coming into today?
Well, I'm interested to see how the rookies stack up against the old guard, so to speak, because the cars are so different. It's almost like you've got no detriment having not driven Formula E before. Obviously, with the regenning, it's going to be a bit difficult to master, but it's going to be interesting. People like Hughes up there, Ticktum as well. I know he's done last season, but he could get right up there onto the podium.
Indeed, he could do. Hugh starting in third place. I'm hoping he will as well. Mark, coming to you as well. 100 EPrix completed as well. 3 Drivers' Championship, 2 with Jean-Eric and 1 with Antonio Felix da Costa. And you've got 2 Constructors' Championships as well. Just talk to us, coming into a new season as well, especially with the wind of change. When you were boss at Techeetah as well, you still are, but when you were in the paddock still, you were able to perfectly get the change from Gen 1 to Gen 2. What tips do you have for teams coming in for the start of Gen 3? How would you be managing the difference?
I suppose in Gen 2 we were lucky enough to work with Renault, who I'd worked with in F1. We were an incredibly professional company, as you guys know, in F1 and in Formula E. So we were lucky enough to be with them, and we built up really from, if you look at the points we got, season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll see everything was, as one of my engineers said, a positive gradient. I think you got to keep going in a positive gradient way, let's say. When we were in season 3 and 4, it was interesting because we won the last race. So it was a nice step-by-step approach, and nothing happens overnight. You see that in F1 as well. It's a long, slow process. And going into the season 5, we were lucky enough to be also with DS. So because of the rules, a customer team doesn't have as much testing as a manufacturer. So there was a bunch of things that were able to change in that season, which were really good, as I said, positive gradient. So we went from not having any testing. We weren't able to access as much testing in with Renault as we wanted, but with DS we were fully able to step it up. So it's always got to be in a positive gradient kind of way. And you're looking at the grid today, it's quite interesting. There's a lot of change going on in Formula E, isn't there? You look at the grid, I'm looking at it now. I'm impressed Lucas is obviously in pole. The Andretti's with the Porsches, I think that's a step, because previously I think BMW had pulled out, so basically Andretti didn't have as much support as they probably should have had, and now they've got a full factory support from Porsche. The next thing that I can see is that there's a lot of 4-car teams effectively, and that's another big difference between what the past and now. So anybody who's got two teams that are running at the front is going to definitely gain in this very short window you have in Formula E.
Yeah, 2 teams as well. I mean, coming through was what we saw in pre-season testing. We saw great stuff from the Maserati guys as well as the DS Penske's as well coming through. They've been sort of hammering towards the top, but Ed, when it came into the race here today, Maserati haven't actually delivered as well as they did in pre-season testing. They left Valencia as favourites. They've come here. Mortara starts 16th. Gunther starts 17th on the grid. They haven't had a great look when they went through the group stages, not even making it to the duels.
Yeah, they just couldn't get the lap in when they needed it. I think it was a similar story with DS Penske, where they just got sort of caught up in the traffic, which infamously plays its part in Mexico as it does at certain other circuits. I'm sure Mark can tell you about some races where his drivers have had been stuck behind others in qualifying and ended up not starting as high up as they otherwise could have. And it happens to the best of us in Formula. Well, the best of us. I'm not a driver. I'm overrating myself a little bit there. But it happens to the best of them in Formula E. And we'll have to see if Maserati can recover.
Absolutely, and I suppose we should really get the nitty-gritty out the way to begin with as well, Mark, because not on the grid this year with Techeetah, are aiming to get back for 2024, and I hope you really will be there for 2024. I want to get that straight off the mark. But just talk to us a little bit about it, because I don't want to touch on it too much, because I know you've got a great interview lined up with Ed on Tuesday that's going to go out on the Formula E's show zone as well. But what's actually happened? Because you were on the entry list, now you dropped out as well. What went wrong over the winter?
Yeah, it's always motorsports about money. So it's always raising the money. So our previous backers, they decided not to continue in Formula E, and so that's sort of how the cookie crumbled. But yeah, always motorsports has ups and downs, and we'll see where we end up in the next few years.
I really hope you did get back as well. Go on, Ed.
Can I just say something, Josh? I can
sure.
tell you exactly what went wrong. I didn't buy enough Techeetah merchandise over the years.
Can I get to it? Can I get to it without bringing the entire commentary box down? That's what I want to believe.
I am wearing my DS Techeetah shirt under this hoodie. just
I
as a neutral party.
I managed to pick it up, and Ed's seen this before as well. I'll show the camera first to you. A Hot Wheels DS Techeetah as well. So I bought the Techeetah merch. Do you actually get any revenue from that, Mark? Putting yourself on a Hot Wheels car?
I mean, I
not
don't
marking
think
the
we didn't make it. I think the most successful one was actually Jaguar's Lego tie-up. I think that was probably one of the best. Understood that was a pretty good deal. A lot of people got Lego Jaguars for Christmas, so it does work, and it is important, and probably not so much from ourselves, but definitely Jaguar did.
Yeah, I wonder
I
who
can
got
always
one of
recolor
those.
it in the Techeetah colours.
Yeah, who got one of those, Ed? Was it you?
No comment.
Okay, well done. We'll gloss over that. I've also got a
We'll just
Robo
hide
Race.
this away.
Yes, put that one. I've got a Robo Race up there as well, actually, but they folded at the end of 2020, unfortunately. Nick, coming to you quickly as well. You're a golden man in qualifying. Andre Lotterer, your pick for pole position, topped the group stage A ahead of Buemi, Degrassi and Fenestraz. But unfortunately, when it came to battling Degrassi in the first semi-final, had a bit of a lock-up and a bit of a mistake as well. Do you think he can do well in the race, starting fourth?
He's always very entertaining to watch, isn't he, Andre Lotterer? I'd like to hope he can only go forward from that. Andretti looked very strong, especially with him and Dennis. But Degrassi isn't a easy person to pass, is he? So,
No.
I think I'd like to see him on the podium at least, and I think that's very doable for him.
Yeah, just a quick question coming in as well from the YouTube chat from Josh Toby. Says, does this show the race? We've got the watch along, so we've got timing graphics and the raw audio from the track as well. And believe me, if everybody says, "Oh, Formula E's got no noise," believe me, me and Ed and Nick were deafened when we put it on in qualifying earlier on as well. So there is noise and a lot of it in Formula E as well. Cars are about to be leaving the pit lane as well to form up on the grid as it's 1:27 over there in Mexico. And I do actually want to ask you, Mark, as well, because it's always been dying in the back of my mind as well. How did you manage your drivers as well? Because we've seen a lot, especially with Jean-Luc Verne and Andre Lotterer, the bromance they had, but a couple of times they did come together a lot. And that's something that we were wondering back in qualifying, because Verne was given the black and white flag for stopping on the track and blocking a couple of other drivers. As a team principal, what would you say to sort of knock that on the head going into a main race?
It depends if you mean today's what happened today, or whether you mean with
anytime really.
I mean, sometimes it's just, if you want to have the drivers racing hard, every so often things go wrong. Many of the races, you can tell which driver is faster. The times that we've had drivers coming together, it was always a communication problem. The best example is the one that where Andre and Jeff came together in Chile, where Andre rammed in the back of Jeff, and it turned out later on what happened was all of our TVs and everything went down, screens, timing, radios, everything, and therefore we couldn't hear them, they couldn't hear us. So in the meantime, the guys were having to use phones to go over and do pit boards. So you can put out information on a pit board. That's the kind of like backup plan using radios. Phones. However, when the TV came back on again and the radios came back on again, and the engineers asked each driver what did they think was going on, each driver had an opposite strategy on their dash. So one thought it was faster, one thought it was slower, and therefore the guy behind couldn't understand what the guy in front was going so slow, and the guy in front couldn't understand why the guy behind was pushing so hard when he thought there's no way he could make it to the end of the race. And so as soon as we got onto the radio and understood that, then basically communication cleared up, reset the dashes, and then of course Andre realized he couldn't push as hard as Jev, and Jev realized that that's why Andre was pushing harder than Kim, let's say. So I don't think I've actually found many times when it's not down to basically a lack of communication, because in business and everything's about communication, and so I don't think there's many times when it's one of the guys is trying to hurt the other one. It's more that there's a miscommunication and a misunderstanding. They're super competitive, and if they don't think the other guy's going fast enough, then they're always pushing, and they'll be on the radio, he's too slow, he's too slow, he's too slow. And the person in front will be saying, are you sure you know what the strategy is? He seems to be quicker than me. Why is he quicker than me? So every so often it might be something like, one of them's using the tires too hard. Like in Berlin, Jev would be, I think in one of the races, he was overheating the rear tires, whereas Antonio wasn't. And therefore, Antonio was quicker because he wasn't destroying the tires, and that just, grew during the race. And they have to trust the engineers to say, that's the problem, and you will do what we believe is true because we can see all the data.
It's fantastic how you can manage it as well. I'm loving that we're going to be able to pick your brain throughout this race as well. And I'm looking forward to asking all the questions and hearing all your answers as well. And I just want to start with the cars are now on the grid as well. A couple of them I can see lining up. I don't think Sam Bird's got to the grid yet. They're all saying they're out on the track, and a couple of them coming through Peltada. I'm just seeing the 37 of Nick Cassidy is at the Peltada, so he's the last one to arrive to the grid as well. Vernon Kay and Karun Chanok are down there on the grid as well. Any driver interviews will pass over to them to have a listen to, because unfortunately our usual pit reporter isn't on site this weekend as well. He'll be mainly in the European races, will Pico as well. And coming through, Nick, just coming to you once more before we get into everything as well, because the driver's just about getting ready for some interviews out there. I know the picker winner of Ed, but what's your picker winner for today?
Ooh, Jake Dennis.
Good call. So many people going with Jake Dennis as well. I like that.
That's what I went for too, by the way, in case Josh didn't say.
I didn't, because I thought it might happen. I've gone for Jake Hughes, to be fair, so we're taking all the Jakes. Mark, I'm going to trouble you for who do you think is going to win today in your picker winner?
Well, actually, Lucas does a great job in Mexico. It seems to be his circuit, so I'll go for Lucas.
Similar situation as well. I think Jose Amigo said Lucas de Grassi, didn't he, actually, I think, on the Grid Network show. Just coming through as well. Joe actually says, very excited about today's race and the 2023 racing season to begin. Astral says, yes, but for motorcycles, never for any race cars as well, for Amazing Circuit. I think that's on about this circuit as well. It's the best for Formula E we've ever had. I mean, fantastic that we're starting the season here, to be fair. We're just looking at this Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.63 kilometers as well, 19 turns. And I'll tell you one thing as well. What's going through the mind then of a team principal right now? You've had all your strategy meetings. You've had all the information as to what you're going to do in the race. How much preparation work is it on the grid? Is it literally just leave the mechanics to do the job, or what's your role going on through all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the worst thing you can have as a team principal, and I've had this when I wasn't a team principal, probably the worst one I've ever experienced was Arrow's Grand Prix when we were in Melbourne, which is my hometown, and I could hear over the radio guys talking about failures for the electronics on both cars. And you knew that both cars were not going to start the race. That's the most, worst feeling ever. So when you're on the grid, usually the worst feeling ever is you're walking along and you're just listening to both cars, the engineers checking things, and you can see some sort of, not panic, but you can tell people's body language changes when there's a problem on the car. So you can hear it in their voices as well. So usually walk over to the car that's having a problem. Normally there's never a problem, or usually, but we had a couple of times in Berlin, for example, where I think Jev's car had been overcooled and the engineers were getting a bit irate. So it's the worst thing is when you can hear the panic on the radio. That's when you know this is not going as smoothly as it should.
Does that make you more nervous for the race as well? Because in many respects it is down to the drivers when the lights go out. What's your nerve levels then? Because mine are through the roof when I'm trying to call the start. What's it like for you?
I think when that sort of thing happens, it's either going to be really bad, i.e. the problem is quite high and therefore the nerves go down because it's almost like you can't do anything about it. Yeah. There is a problem. And if they can't solve it with all of the processes and procedures, you've probably got no nerves left because that car's not going to start the race or there's no way it's going to win or be in the top. It's probably worse with the car is everything's going well and you're hoping that nothing goes wrong at all during the race. So there's more nerves when you've got two cars at the front of the grid and they've done everything right, which has happened a few times with us. And you got more nerves about things going wrong later on. So that's more of a panic than well, not a panic, but that's when you get quite nervous when everything's going right and you just don't want anything to go wrong.
Sounds like us, actually, doesn't it, Ed? A lot, actually, when something goes wrong with the commentary box. So we usually we're in a frantic mode. Hopefully, it's all good today. The arrows stalling on the grid, was that 2002? Because I remember there was a mechanic got stuck on the grid when the cars were coming back round.
Yeah, I think we had, if I remember rightly, we had some problem in the early days of, let's call it electronics. You were talking about the Le Mans guys getting DDoSed. I think we had some kind of early version of that back in 2002, which was causing trouble. The problem was no one knew what the solution was. It wasn't just fixing a hose or a pump or a electrical box which you could change, so the cars didn't start.
Yeah, we were already down 2 when the race started. Then Ralf Schumacher decided to become an airplane, and Felipe Massa decided to forget where to look, and the entire thing just sort of came together at turn 1.
This was a long time ago now, Josh.
Yes, it was. It was 20. It was 21 years ago, but I still get annoyed about it as well. It should have been red flagged, because if it was red flagged, would your cars been able to restart if it was red flag?
Exactly, yeah, because yes, I think they should have been, because they were pushed to the side. I have to check the exact rules, but as long as everything was done correctly, it would have been possible.
See, 21 years I've been stewing on that. It's nice to have Mark finally get an explanation to it as well. Coming through the drivers now out of the cars, just getting ready as well. Some going to the toilet break as well. Now, it's only a 45-minute race still. I mean, now we've bumped it up to 36 laps, so maximum this race is going to take an hour. Do drivers feel the need to go to the bathroom beforehand in just an hour race? Is it still that sort of mentality of a racing driver's got the function of this is what I do pre-race? It's like a tradition?
There's always nerves, and I think the other problem is that they're trying to, nowadays it's become so scientific, they're trying to load themselves up with the right amount of fluids and everything to be the right weight, the right amount of fluids to not dehydrate, to be at the absolute peak performance. Wearing one of these Whoop watches, everything now goes right down to the, your recoveries, you're in the perfect time of day, you're eating the right food at the right times and putting the right amount of energy in your body. So you can't get everything perfect. If you take a drink 2 hours before, or you're loading up with the different elements that the trainers ask you to, it's not a perfect science. So yeah, you still may have drunk too much, 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that's definitely not the case for me. I've been too busy to do that, so at least the drivers are going to be well hydrated for this race.
Mark, you handled that question really well, because, Josh, if I were you, I would not have got a Formula E team principal on to ask them about drivers' bowel movements.
No, I didn't think that was a wise way to go, but I'm filling for time a little bit as well, because...
Well, we're here now, so there's no going back.
Because they're not interviewing the drivers yet for the grid walk, so I think they've changed their procedure a little bit. Anyway, it's 38 minutes past, so Karun Chanuk's just doing his wonderful technical pieces about the new Gen 3 car as well. Just looking through as well, the grid hasn't changed that much since, only a couple of positions. Norman Nato did go back up to 20th place. He did have a lap time deleted, but he's got it reinstated for track limits. That pushed Bird down to 21st as well, after there was some confusion, but it's in his correct grid position now. The one thing that I was looking at in this qualifying format is that now the change, of course, 3 points if you get topping the duels instead of 1 point going back previously. So there's more emphasis on qualifying correctly. But I just want to say, Mark, as a team principal, are you in favour of points during qualifying or not? Because everybody I speak to has always said, well, points should really be for the race only, not for quali.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was on the sporting working group, so probably involved in a lot of these discussions. I think it's such a problem, not a problem, but a discussion between purist and, trying to be modern and try to be interesting. I probably should ask you guys the question, because you're younger than me. What do you think about the future? Because, you can't be always saying that's how we used to do it in the old days. I was looking at when we had Super Aguri Formula One team, I remember that we came 6th in one of the races and got points. And I was looking back and thinking, why did we not get more points in some of these new Formula One teams nowadays? And I realized that we didn't get points between 6th and 10th. And so, I'd much rather, if we had that rule back then, we would have had way more points than most people now as a new team. So, things change, and it's really down to, I suppose, making it interesting and keeping the competition and the importance of each of each part of the race important. So, if you look back at some really old Formula One races, I think the races, they had down to 6 because usually only 12 cars finished.
Yeah.
Whereas now that 20 cars finish, it's a different story. So I think things have to change based on what's actually happening in the world.
Yeah, and I think also that's one of the great things as well, isn't it? Because I was looking back through the F1 archive the other day as well, and I was just thinking, because I found, I know this is going to be a bit too geeky on some things as well, but, you know, do you remember the F1 Digital Plus? It was on for a year with Sky, and all their commentaries were on YouTube, so I thought, oh, I'll take a look at those. And I was just remembering, by lap 3, the Ferraris were around about 15 seconds ahead of everybody else. So everyone says, oh, bring back the V10s, bring back the simplicity of it. But I think the way motorsport is now is focusing, yes, it's a world championship and a sport, but they've put more emphasis on a show as well. And they've got the balance sort of right between everything. And I think that's one thing that Formula E has done really well, is the balance. They've had a few hit and misses. I mean, Fan Boost worked originally, now it didn't. So they've replaced it with something interesting with the attack charge. But I always think as well that it's better to try things than not try them if they're thought out correctly. So if it's a good idea that's thought out correctly, it's worth a go, because there's qualifying formats that don't work, there's race formats that don't work. But things like the attack mode, it works because it gives you strategy. So I'm all for change, but not change for change's sake, if you get what I mean.
I think if you look at some of the things that Formula One has benefited from because of Formula E, one simplistic one was social media in the pit lane. Before Formula E came along, you know, Bernie never allowed anyone to film anything at the track, and Formula E decided to experiment with that concept. We basically had a sort of a unwritten rule, let's say, that you could film backwards into the garage, but not outwards, because you can't control someone else's branding, let's say. And that made a big difference. And then, lo and behold, Formula One took that and copied it, and off they went. So, but at the same time, you know, that's important in motor racing. So we experimented with things. You know, Alejandro was quite, let's say, he's a great marketing guy, and he came up with lots of ideas, and we did a lot of them. And I think F1, I know for a fact that many of the F1, let's say, senior management had been watching Formula E to see which things they felt worked, and therefore allowed them to experiment more. I'm not saying sprint racing has come because of Formula E, but certainly I think it probably gave them confidence that they needed to try things. The things they felt wouldn't work or didn't work, like fan boost. Not everyone was a big fan of that. But, you know, there's other elements that were experimented with in Formula E, and the guys in F1 were definitely watching to see which things they felt worked.
And if you've got control in many respects of how Formula E is shaped, because you're still a registered team principal with the team as well. You may not be on the grid, but you've got it's anything other than a year, isn't it, before the licensing comes around for next season. So you are still an active team principal. So you've still got a say in how I'm going to have to interrupt myself because Vernon Kay is talking with Jake Dennis on the grid.
Your quest for perfection in the championship gets bigger and bigger and bigger. However, we've got the stepping stone of the brand new Gen 3 car that you've now got to get your head around. Is it a good car to drive? Is it fun?
It's fun, it's difficult, it's challenging, and I was just speaking to Oliver about it then, you know, it's completely different to Gen 2, and everything what you sort of know from Gen 2, you have to sort of wipe the slate clean. Like Gen 2, you could really like combine the car a lot through the corner, whereas now we can have to like brake in a straight line, turn, and then accelerate in a straight line. A completely different driving style, but you know, we're at the front, we're competitive. A big turnaround from Valencia, to be honest. I really came here thinking I'd be more that way, and yeah, we're on the front row, so first race of the season, see how we go on.
Do you miss me?
I'm missing you, bro.
I miss you too. I miss you too. Last time you raced Degrassi for the win, you made a mistake in London. I don't want to remind you, but you have a fantastic shot here this weekend today to make it happen. How do you feel?
I'm quietly confident that I can get the edge on Degrassi. It's more the McLaren. That the Nissan powertrain looks super efficient at the moment from all the data we have so far. But yeah, just don't go for attack when you already have attack is rule number one. So lesson learned from London. But yeah, I think just get a clean start. Everyone's hoping going to be a bit cautious into one, and we just get through it, because to be honest, if you have a DNF here, you're massively on the back foot going to Saudi, because you've then only got one car of data knowledge. This is really everyone's first proper race. So if you have a DNF early on, you're going to lose a lot of valuable data for the team. So hopefully everyone's sensible, but I come out on top.
You're in good company with your teammate behind you, another Porsche behind him. I wish you the best of luck today. I'm rooting for you guys. You're my pick from a week ago.
Yeah,
to win the race today. So I don't have any money on you.
Pick a winner must be an American thing, I'm thinking as well, because we never heard of that beforehand. Mark, I just want to say something here. You're coming back next year. No drivers at the moment. Oliver Askew, down to TV role. Would you be interested in signing him up?
You know that experience is massively important in Formula E, and that's one of the more difficult things. If you look at the most successful drivers, you know, we had Antonio in season 1, and obviously won our first race. Then I did do an article at one point about, you know, tracing the amount of points he had. He had more than with us, of course. But I think if you do, by the way, we're not sure what's happening next year. I'm actually not involved in anything at the moment. So where I am not involved in the sporting rules or anything like that, just so you know. But it's interesting. You really do need one driver that's experienced in Formula E at least. I must say, Fenestraz is doing a good job. I must say, if you look down the list, because you'll see if you look down the list, Jake Dennis did a great job coming in first. Actually, so did Jake Hughes actually as well. But we noticed that when a new driver comes in, it probably takes 6 months to get used to Formula E. Yeah,
he's done amazing, hasn't he, Ed, as well? It's got into the duels. He didn't get through Maximus, starts 8th, but he impressed certainly you, because you mentioned on the Grid Network show as well how quickly he's adapted. He did one race last year, didn't he? The last race of the season in Seoul. Come into Mexico and has started very strongly.
Yeah, well, obviously he brings that pedigree with him from Super Formula in Japan, where he's done very well. So it's no wonder that Nissan have snapped him up, and it feels like he's bedded himself into that team really well, and has at least put in a good qualifying performance. And hopefully he can get some, like his aim, he said in interviews, was to get some points out of this race. I think starting 8th, that's very achievable in the Nissan. And like Jake Dennis was just saying he's worried about McLaren because of how efficient it is in the back. Mark, can I ask you a question about we told you who you think is going to win today. Who are you going to be cheering on in the official Joshua Burch commentary impartiality sort of way? Because obviously you've got Andre near the front, you've got Antonio starting 9th, I think, and then you've got Jev a little bit further back, and I think 11th or 12th. So
yeah, too many. I know too many of the drivers. Obviously, Mitch from he's not from Australia, but you know, New Zealand, close enough. Obviously got obviously I'm always impressed with Van Dorn. Rast drove for us previously. Max Ginter, always get on really well with him. Sam Bird, I really hope that he goes well. Oliver Rowland, I do think he's amazing. So I'm not quite sure actually. I'll have to see how it feels in the middle of the race as to who I'm going for. But obviously Antonio, if I had to choose, if I could try and find a way, he did help us start in Formula E and won our first race. So maybe I just have to say Antonio because he's the first guy that won a race for me in Formula E.
And won your most recent driver's title as well.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, you know, it's funny. I'll digress for a second here. I came over from Australia after doing Formula Fords for many years and won races over there, and then I did F1 for a number of years. And it's very hard to win stuff in F1, and so going into Formula E. When Jev won his first race, I said to him, when was the last time you won a race? And because he had been in F1 for a number of years with Toro Rosso, he hadn't actually won a race for many years. And it was quite amazing to him because he'd done lots of races in F1, but he hadn't actually won something for a while. So it's quite amazing for some of these drivers that may have done F1 or other series where it's difficult to win, but they'd won all the way up through their careers. So, it's kind of fascinating. But maybe Antonio, I'll have to go for him.
Good pick. And, of course, that was Montreal 17, wasn't it? The first win for Techeetah. Last race of the season. I remember calling that race, actually, as well. It was a very strange experience because the title battle was going on behind as well. But I think Techeetah definitely stole the race that day as well. And especially as Boemi was sort of busy arguing with everybody around the paddock as well. So
that was the best. That was probably the best wins, actually, because we'd been building up to it for 2 or 3 years, and that was pretty cool. That win.
How was the party afterwards?
Let's see, Montreal. That's always a good place to have a party, if I remember rightly.
Got the casino just on the Ile Notre Dame, as I suppose. So that's a good place to go. But then again, probably lose the budget for the next season, so probably don't go there as well. You didn't get rained out, which was good, which is often the case at that time of year. So we got a very lucky one, but sadly it never appeared again. And we were supposed to have Vancouver on this year's Formula E calendar. That sadly has fallen off. Hopefully we get to see a race there at some point in the future as well. We are getting ready for race time. 14 minutes until the start procedure moves off as well. It's a 36-lap race. We've already talked to you about all the energy positions as well, and I suppose I'm going to have to use your technical department here, because you were alongside Adrian Newey for a number of years down at McLaren, so you've got a greater knowledge than I have. Just talk to us about the new regulations as well. If I can get my page over. We've got 41 kilowatts of energy to use during the race. We haven't got attack charge here, but how difficult is it in order to make sure you get to the end? Because back when it was a timed race, we always saw the instance it was an extra 1 or 2 laps. Now we've got a fixed race distance, but the possibility of having at least 2 extra under safety cars. So what would the balance be in the strategy department, and as your technical mind, which powertrain do you think could be the best at holding it this season?
I mean, the timed race is actually more difficult because the end is very hard to predict, because it's not possible to predict it at the beginning of the race. Laps are actually easier in that respect. In terms of what's the difference is going to be here and how does the efficiencies play out, that's a lot of where the experience comes down. You notice that when somebody is a rookie that's maybe come from a different series, and I'll digress for 2 seconds about something, when thinking about should we have a feeder series to Formula E. Formula E is different to any other racing series because nothing else has a power cap. That is completely different to anything else, and it's very hard to, unless you've done all the calculations like I have done over the years in F1, trying to calculate top speeds and based on powers and all that kind of stuff. The power in Formula E in terms of the cap makes a really big difference, more than you would imagine, and creates a different element to it. The other thing is that the energy saving. I mean, F1 does do energy saving, but it's not talked about. So most of the series now in the world, except for maybe IndyCar, I believe, are energy series rather than flat out races like I understand Indy still is, and some series are around the world. So everything is about energy nowadays in most series. And so going back to the feeder series, a lot of the series don't actually have to do that. If you do F4, F3, F2, I don't believe any of them have an energy cap. So drivers actually don't get training in, let's say, how important energy is. When Jeff first came into Formula E, he sort of didn't get it at the beginning, but then once he understood, he's a competitive guy. So once he understood how he had to operate, he grabbed into everything that was important. Same as Antonio, they taught us a lot when they were pushing each other in the simulator to figure out which one of them could save energy better and find really unique ways of saving energy. They pushed each other hard, and that was really important. So in this race, I think understanding and communication between the engineer and the drivers, and the drivers maybe trusting the engineers when they tell them you need to do this, otherwise you won't have the performance at the end of the race, is super important. And I think people don't understand that as much as they potentially should.
I love that you were able to give us any insight possible throughout the race as well, and I'm very much looking forward to calling it as well. Just quickly as well, we have got a couple of things going on at the moment on the grid with they're just trying to clear it, but I think they're having problems trying to clear the grid actually of a few celebrities that were there, because I was seeing a few security guards running around on walkie-talkies, and I can understand why. There's only 10 minutes to go until the race starts. Is that Oliver Turvey, I think I'm just watching at the moment, who's at the DS Automobiles Penske as well, coming through. Yep, I'm just talking to Nicky as he comes through on the
another Oliver
screens.
who's out of contract at the moment.
Yes, another one there for you, Mark, as well, to try and sign up. He's wearing the right colours at least as well.
He's also a McLaren simulator driver, so I'm a big fan of Oliver. He's really good.
How long were you at McLaren for? Was it 03 to 05?
No, only 2 years. If you ever come to one of my offices in Oxford, you'll see the MP418A. We've got a simulator there. made of the car that was the one that never raced. It was an interesting experience with Adrian.
Was that 04?
03, I think.
03, yeah. Because I know there was one of them.
That was the year where they ran the 17D, wasn't it?
Yes.
There we go.
Look at that crowd. That crowd is incredible. I must say, one thing about Mexico, we've had Mexican drivers. I had Mexican drivers twice. It is out of control. It is amazing how much they love racing over there. It's just amazing. So it's probably one of the best races to go to. It's like being in Brazil when Pele comes onto the grid with you. It's just unbelievable. And when the first time one of the Mexican drivers comes into the I don't know what the name is of the baseball ground, baseball area, but
Orosol, I think.
Orosol, that's it. They just go crazy. And I remember when we had Salvador and also with Esteban, the crowd is just so into their racing drivers. It's really amazing.
I love it. I do love it. It's packed out, even for a Formula E race. That's what I love about it. It's a World Championship event now. It's going from strength to strength as well. Maybe a season too long in Gen 2 as well, but it certainly didn't bore us. It was giving us excitement. Let's hope Gen 3 is going to give it the same way. The mariachi band just walking off there as well. Somebody did ask me, you doing the first race of the year in a Mexican costume as well, because I didn't unfortunately dress up for the Mexico Grand Prix, which was on Halloween, but I couldn't fit into it yet. I'm still slimming down after a very big Christmas, as I'm sure we all are, because it's come up quick actually as well. Is that good for you? I know it's good for fans of motorsport as well, but you've got 7 months off effectively. Well, yeah, 6 months off effectively, because you end in July and start again in January. Do you like that, a sort of a break for Formula E? They get in there earlier. Is it good also for business, because you're the only one sort of on for the FIA?
You'd be surprised at how short time is. We didn't get holidays in the last... usually, in Europe, you get holidays in August. And the last couple of years, we've had to race in August. So especially, starting during COVID, we did 14 days in Berlin. So then in September, you're pretty much back into it. All the powertrains are arriving and you're building up the cars for the first tests. In motor racing, it's pretty much non-stop. My wife will tell you, if you get her on a podcast one point, how much when we started Super Aguri, she didn't see me for ages, and she had to come to the factory each day to have lunch with me so that she got to talk to me, because it was kind of crazy. So motor racing never stops in the background, because if you have any spare time, you're usually doing something, either testing or something. It's always flat out.
Yep, the sport that never sleeps as well is pretty much how it all is as well. And tell you what, I'd love to hear from your lovely wife as well about having to come and see you as well, because that's something that I've experienced personally as well, not in terms of married wife or anything, but people trying to see me during the motorsport season. It's like, well, pick a date that it's anywhere between a Monday and a Wednesday, because from Thursday onwards you're not going to see me as well. We're getting ready for the start procedure as well, so we're going to
before we start, Josh, we have a fan question. We have Adam Lemery, I believe is from Grid Networks. There's a question for Mark. Would you like to see more than one race a year in the USA? Of course, we've got the one in Portland coming up, and we have had New York recently as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the US is one of the biggest markets for automotive in the world. So, China, US, they're the ones that we're missing some more races. And I know the guys are all working hard to get more races in the US. Super important.
I'll tell you what, I'll throw one your way as well, actually, Mark. Australia, Adelaide. We're back there as well. Formula E is perfect for Adelaide on the street circuit. Would you like to see that there one day?
Yeah, you got time for a silly story about Adelaide?
Yes, we've got 60 seconds. If you can get it into 60 seconds.
I was an engineer, young engineer, and I went into the grid when it was F1 in Adelaide, and God knows how many years ago. I asked for Patrick Head, and they said he's not here, but would you be happy with talking to Adrian Newey? And I said, okay, go on then. And I spoke to him for 20 minutes, and then sort of X number of years later, I worked for him at McLaren. I said, part of the reason I came from Australia to England was because of the time you spent talking to me in Adelaide.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's a brilliant story. Genesis. Fantastic. Oh, that is a great story. Right, Ed, could you... I don't know if you've got the grid in front of you as well right now, but we just switched over so I can swap my microphones. But who's your big watch out for today in terms of who you're going to be looking for? Not in terms of win the race, but who's going to be interesting off the start?
Well, I think it's been interesting to see the S cars, how they get off the line. I think Evans is very good at overtaking on the first couple of laps historically. So I think Mitch Evans in 10th should be one to watch. That's about it. I think Antonio Felix da Costa is a little bit out of position down in 9th, I think. So I think he might be able to make up a few places as well if he can get the traction on that Porsche just right.
Jack Nicholls has got nothing on me. I can do this in 30 seconds as well. He has to run to the commentary box as well. But we're all set then, and the audio's coming up, so hopefully everyone can hear that crystal clear on the commentary. Here we go then, folks. Sit back and enjoy round 1 of Season 9. It's the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, a start of a whole new generation as well. Race 101. And what better place to start a brand new era than at the best Formula E circuit of them all. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez always packed out to the max. 80,000 fans packed into the Forosol Stadium. This is how the track looks as well. 2.630 kilometers, 19 turns, 36 laps ahead of us in the race duration as well. Turn 1, always a key opportunity. It's like trying to balance yourself on the edge of a knife through there at Turn 1. We've reintroduced the Turn 9, 10 and 11 chicane as well, mainly down to regenerating the energy of the cars. An attack mode location is at the exit of the Forosol at Turn 15. It's no longer on the inside, it's on the outside, so be careful to remember that. They've changed it for safety concerns after the previous couple of years. Here's the starting grid then, from back to front. Oliver Rowland starts 22nd for Mahindra. He's alongside Sam Bird in 21st. Norman Naito for Nissan is his 20th. Robin Frein starts 19th in the new App Capra back in the championship. Nice to see them. Nico Muller starts 18th as well alongside Maximilian Gunther in 17th. Eduardo Mortara for Maseratis in 16th. Can he get up after hitting the wall in FP2? Rene Rast, a poor qualifying for him down in 15th. He's going to be looking to capitalise. DS Penske also surprising us with Stoffel Van Dorn being in 14th after being 3rd this morning. He's alongside the grid Sergio Sete Camera. Nick Cassidy and Jean-Eric Verne have the 6th row of the grid. 5th row sees Mitch Evans starting 10th with Antonio Felix da Costa in 9th. Then moving on to row 4, Sasha Fenstras starts back in the championship full-time with Nissan. Sebastian Buemi, new envisioned contract as well. He starts 7th. 3rd row of the grid, Pascal Verlaine for Porsche is 6th. Dan Ticktum, high for Neo. Great to see them up there. 2nd row, Andre Lotter as well. Mistaking qualifying starts 4th. Jake Hughes on debut for Mio McLaren starts in 3rd. Front row of the grid though, it's Jake Dennis in 2nd and Lucas de Grassi on pole position for the 4th time in his career. It's looking absolutely fantastic. The grid is electric, if you pardon the pun. I'm Joshua Burch. Alongside me in the commentary box is Techeetah team principal Mark Preston, Edward Hunter and Nick Homewood with us too. Mark, it's through the roof right now. How's your levels right now when we go into these start procedures?
Pretty exciting, you know, the first lap can be crazy, so yeah, let's see what happens in turn 1.
Ed, this has been a long time waiting. We've had to wait an extra season for Generation 3. Are you looking forward to it? Are you nervous?
Oh, you know me, I'm always nervous. But I was just noticing on that aerial shot of the Forosol Stadium, the F1 route of the circuit. Oh, billowing smoke coming out the back of those Hancocks as de Grassi gets into position for pole. But I was noticing the outline for the F1 circuit was still just about visible. So I guess it was only a couple of months ago in November that we had that Mexico City Grand Prix, of course.
Nick,
now the EPrix about to begin.
Nick, coming to you. You were worried about the brakes as well. Nice to have you here in the comms box, mate. Brakes down to turn 1. Are we going to see some accidents? Are we going to get through cleanly? What's your prediction?
Well, we usually do even when the cars had regular brakes, so I'd be surprised if everyone gets through cleanly.
A start into the unknown, a giant leap. Generation 3 is about to get underway. 5 lights on. Action in Mexico. Great start from de Grassi. Dennis is actually bogged down. Look at Jake Hughes. Going to go right round the outside to turn 1. But Buemi's going to be swamped in the middle by the outside Andretti. Great job. And yes, they are all getting through turn number 1. That's Rene Rast. He was being forced onto the grass. Keeps it going. De Grassi leads. Dennis is up to 2nd. Hughes to 3rd. And Dennis has managed to get back in place by the exit of turn 2. Brilliant start. Down to 5 and 6. And everyone just looks to be a little bit careful. There we see Buemi versus da Costa, and it's all literally 2 by 2 as we enter the hairpin.
Yeah, great start by Fenestras, who went side by side with Buemi and got past him, and that enabled da Costa to have a chance and get into 8th as well.
Oh, we got 3
great
to 1.
recovery from Dennis.
That's one of the DS Penske's news at Techeetah, Mark. As they come through, got a yellow flag somewhere. It's Robin Friends who's struggling out there. Friends has come to a cropper somewhere at the exit turn 8, but a clean start for everyone. How was that then for you, Mark? Clean, good getaway?
Yeah, it's a pretty good start, isn't it? It's everyone's got away cleanly.
And Nick as well.
That's what I hope would happen.
Yeah, Nick, they did get through cleanly, but yellow flag out the back at turn number 8. That could cause a safety car. Don't know what's happened to Friends. We haven't seen a TV picture just yet. It's 36 laps. Lap 1 is complete. 1 to lap 2. If we do have to go to a safety car or a full course yellow, there are new procedures underway in terms of how we have to agonisingly work out exactly what is going to be an extra lap. I've got a stopwatch ready, and it's going to be safety car deployed on the second lap, as unfortunately for the Out Cooper Formula E team, Friends has come to a stop, and now start the stopwatch to work out added laps. Well, that's a bit of an anticlimax. Everyone was just getting into it.
Oh, quite a rueful shot of Thomas Biermeier looking very shocked there in the Apt Cooper team garage. I'm sure you've been there, Mark. Not in that specific garage, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's very disappointing for them, isn't it? Coming back in with Mahindra, it's a bit of a shame that they've had such a bad first lap there.
Let's take a look what happened then. Coming through the chicane. Oh, he's run over the back.
That was Norman Nato he hit the back of.
And that's what we were worried about. What would you do, Mark? Would you report that, or is it just drivers not looking?
You know, it's really difficult. We actually had 3 people that were talking about sporting rules. You have different channels, so the teams that you're hearing many channels of radio. You try to make sure that the engineers are only talking to the drivers. But we had a channel which is just sporting, where we'd be talking to the race director. So if we felt like it's worth reporting, then the team manager would talk to the race director.
Fantastic stuff. Oh, there's a bit of a Hankook logo
like
there.
Envision front wing bodywork.
Yeah, so Cassidy's 13th, Buemi, where's he on the board? In 8th. So we'll take a look and see who's missing some of it. The Porsche safety car has now been led out, so we spent 1 minute 30 under the safety car. A reminder for the new regulation: if it's anywhere between 0 and 3 minutes 29, we won't have any additional laps added. But if it is between 3 minutes 30 and 6 minutes 59 spent under either full course yellow or safety car, we will have an extra lap added to the race. We've spent 1 minute 52 so far under that safety car. So we'll probably have at least a 37 lap race, not 36, as well as they come into the second half of the track as well. All calm. We'll get another rolling start. DeGrassi's on the radio.
Passing.
You keep
Passing
me
over a line.
informed. Let me know if the race gets extended 1 lap or not.
Yeah,
It's
Mark.
always interesting because in different tracks, they can clear the track quicker. You know, if you go to Monaco, except for maybe I think it was last year when the cars got stuck in the wrong place. Depending on which track you're at, they can remove cars quite fast. So I imagine this should be a fast one.
Yeah, there they are. The mechanic's just there. Let's take a look on board with Sam Bird now, and he is up into 19th position. Presumably, this is going to be some of the view of the contact. Yeah, there it is. Just his viewpoint of it as well. Didn't seem to be that much, actually, Nick, did it? But it's enough to ride over the top. And I suppose, as a driver's point of view on the esports side of things, it's quite hard to react if you were Robin Friends.
Yeah, it's the first lap. A lot of cars, you know, very small area of the track. And especially these cars now they've got exposed wheels again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Unlike the Gen 2 cars, so they're going to ride up on top of each other a bit easier than they were before.
Exactly what I was thinking
I
with
would
these.
say that the best strategy in race is lead from the front. Basically, you have the fastest car and lead from the front, because the further you get back down the grid, the more melee you get into. It's almost like there's a statistical thing that when you get further to the back of the grid, you're more likely to get into trouble.
We've opened up Buemi's radio. There's Zach Brown, CEO at McLaren Racing, of course, as well, overseeing Formula E, Extreme E, IndyCar, and Formula One's main prospect as well. We've opened up Buemi's team radio. Not hearing too much at the moment, but
It's definitely Buemi who lost the bit of front wing earlier that we spotted, Josh. And Norman Nato's gone into the pits as well, so I imagine that whack from the back from the apt of Frines has probably done a fair bit of damage. It needs to be repaired by the Nissan mechanics.
Right,
They might not be able to.
We've just crossed over to 4 minutes 6, so we're going to have at least one added lap to this race. It will be 37. We need to make sure if it comes to that. Apparently, according to Ben Schneider, who's our colleague at the Grid Network, the CBS feed is behind. Lights just went out a full minute later. Well, stay with us. I'll tell you what, Ben, as well, it seems to be the best way at the moment because the American isn't actually hovering that much. And actually, while we're under the safety car, I'll come to you, Mark, on this because TV exposure in America hasn't been great. 2 seconds.
Mahindra Racing.
So
Jake
anyway,
Dennis
turn
is radio.
DMC off. Safety car, man, it's pulling me slowing down quite a lot.
He was asking something about the VSC mode, wasn't it? So I think he's trying to take it off so he can get some tire temp in. Mark, would that be something that you can control, the modes of how to press behind the safety car?
I mean, that's a virtual safety car, so maybe he's having a problem with one of the settings on the steering wheel.
I'll have to take a look at that because Dennis was struggling with the car in qualifying. That was more of an oversteer factor. But yeah, just going back to you, I forgot my original question, so I hope someone can remember what I was going to ask Mark because I've got several different feeds in my ears coming through. And we're going to see a replay of the start. Ed, talk us through it.
Okay, well, simple getaway from Degrassi. Dennis bogged down a little bit, but was able just to brake a little bit later into turn 1 and keep Hughes at bay. But Finestraz going around the outside of Bohemia, I thought that was superb. Rene Rast also had a bit of a scary moment. Look at the Maseratis either side of Rast as they go into turn 1. Rene Rast did really, really well not to be pushed into that outside wall. So it was just amazing with this big pinch point. Everyone was able to get through. Look, 3 wide at the back. And Rene Rast, there was like a cigarette paper's width between him, the wall, and the Maserati, I think, either side of him. So great reactions there from Rene.
Yeah, on board with Stoffel Van Dorn. He's moved up into 14th position as well. This is going to be his view on the outside to turn 1. Look at that, everyone being so gentle, giving each other room. I wasn't exactly as cutthroat as I was expecting it. Mark, there's the safety cars coming in. Van Dorn could have pushed a little bit harder there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're smart guys. The guys at the front are, you know, very experienced racers and need to. The first race, you want to make sure you get through this race, I think. So I think they've all done it quite well.
Well, coming to the restart then, look how much Degrassi is backing the pack up as well. The safety car is just coming into the pit lane now. And when will Degrassi hit the accelerator and release the 300 kilowatts of energy? He's done that now. Green flag, race on again in Mexico. Everybody into full power. And as we exit the Peraltada Mansell and return to the start-finish straight, Degrassi leads on lap 6. The race will be extended at least by a lap as we spend less than the 6:59 under that caution period. And one of the DS is going to look on the inside. That's Van Dorn trying to pass Cassidy. Cassidy didn't have a great getaway either. I was watching when, Ed, you were calling the start. He bogged down a little bit and then he got back again. So not too much chunking as well. But we've got a yellow flag somewhere on the track because Hughes under pressure a little bit from Lotterer into 5 and 6 is where we were worried about the braking situation. It's a yellow flag at turn 1.2.
I think Bird might be in trouble because Roland just got past him.
It is, it's Bird. Bird stopped on the driver tracker.
It's on the race in front of him.
Drive shaft's gone.
No.
Yep, so that could be a second safety car depending on where he's gone. It's at the exit. Yeah, this will be another safety car then. It has to be. So this is unbelievable for Sam Bird. He's had a weekend from hell. He had a poor first practice with locking up constantly. Practice 2, the car died on him. He had to sit at the side of the track for 3 minutes while it reactivated. Qualifying was very bad in 21st. Now he's out of the race and another safety car. We can barely get a lap without a safety car. Is this normal, Mark, in terms of new generation? Or, because well, we know one of them was a crash, but for Birds, this can't be good.
I mean, in season 1, we did have some pretty crazy things happen. I remember Takuma, I think, stopped in Beijing and had to reboot the car. And those days, we were still learning about, you know, what was going wrong with the cars. But you know, drive shafts. If it is a drive shaft, that's really unforgivable in some ways because you know that's the kind of basic reliability stuff that should be validated on rigs and things. They're not really having a great time, are they, at Jaguar with those kind of things? It's not how you win championships. That should be stuff that you could validate on a rig, not to be caught out in a racetrack, you know, in halfway around the world.
We've opened up Bert's radio just in case we can hear anything as well. Nick, coming to you as well. We were asked this question on the Grid Network show. Is this year sort of make or break for Sam Bird. I replied with, I think it's only his own mentality whether he wants to continue in Formula E or not in terms of will anyone hire him. He's still a very competitive driver. 2 seconds, Degrassi.
Here's Degrassi's radio.
Oh, Degrassi's radio's gone as we take a look at Bird just pulling off with that suspected drive shaft. He said it was drive shaft as well. But yeah, Nick, is this year make or break for Sam Bird, whether it's his own mentality or his career in Formula E? I'll actually come to you, Mark, as well after this.
I think, yeah, because he's always been there or thereabouts, but he's never quite made it. Yeah, it's just gone out the last quarter, isn't it?
Yeah.
He didn't go through any kind of trauma. But yeah, he's always been there or thereabouts. Last year was his first year he didn't win a race,
Yeah.
right? So, and he's been outperformed by Evans generally. So it could be that he doesn't want to continue. You could maybe tell if this season doesn't go his way that the motivations dropped. Definitely the end of the last season, he didn't seem as enthusiastic as he did
Safety
a couple
car
of seasons ago.
restarts. Upon restart, we will need to stay sharp regarding attack mode.
Oh, Dennis being told on the safety car restart, be sharp about attack mode. Yeah, Mark, come to you. Is this year a make or break then for Sam, in your opinion? You know Sam of old being in the F1 paddock, you're like one big family.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and maybe it's time for him to do something different as well. And I mean maybe try a different team. I'm not trying to be too controversial, but at some point if things don't work, then things don't work. It's a shame that it looks like a mechanical failure, and at the first race with so much preparation. I mean, it's difficult. We'll probably hear after the race all of the different opinions about what's going on, but definitely not the greatest.
Ed, I'll throw it to you.
That team wouldn't happen to be Techeetah, would it not?
Well, he's a good driver. I do like Sam.
We're hiring. I tell you what, Mark, just hire us. We'll do all the hiring for the drivers as well. We can do quite good at the
I think that's a great way to make a team go bankrupt very quickly.
I don't know, Ed. We're doing quite well in ERC. I'll tell you what, though, Nick.
That's very true, but there's not a whole lot of money involved there.
There's not, to be fair, no, but you're more the team principal there, Ed, actually, as well. In that respect, I just sort of drop in and out. I'm the helmet Marco.
You're a very good cheerleader there, Josh.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
put yourself down. You keep me motivated, and I keep the drivers motivated. Anyway, this is more important.
Yeah,
as
maybe-
we see Sam Bird trudging disconsolately back to the garage. I don't see Jaguar sacking him based on just one bad weekend, where also FP2 he missed out almost the entirety of FP2. So him qualifying badly and then not doing too much of the race, I don't think you can really. It's sort of one of those where he didn't really do enough of the race to make any kind of judgment either way. We'll have to see how the rest of the season goes for him.
You often find that in a race weekend, a few people have asked me how sometimes are you stressed or not over a weekend, and normally the ones where you're stressed, nothing's going to go right. Everything's going wrong, and that probably is Sam's weekend in a nutshell. That it's just not his weekend, and you can often tell, you can almost tell it at the beginning of the race. Weekend, things are not right, the preparation's not enough. But when some people say when you're bored, I always found that when you're bored, it's probably your most successful weekend because nothing's going wrong and you have enough resources and everything's okay. It's when everything's going wrong and you have a crash or you have, crazy things happening, that everything just goes downhill, and especially in Formula E.
Safety car is coming through the pit lane. Safety car is coming through the pit lane. Okay, so safety car and convoy of cars through the pit lane. Bizarre.
Well, that's to avoid Bird, who's sort of on the exit, isn't he, on the inside?
Yeah,
of
but
turn 2.
that's I think
strange.
Could that be because they're taking the car back across the track with the tractor? So that yes, I think it was. Look,
must be
because it's at the exit turn 1. So that's the only thing I could think of as to why they were bringing it to the pit lane, not on the start-finish straight. Is because they've had to bring it right across the entrance to turn 1. So smart decision there from Scott O'Kane.
Yeah, that's Scott thinking on his feet, right?
Which was your best race director?
Oh. I think Scott's great. It's always so hard to be able to tell. He has to judge what are the guys going to do that are moving stuff off the track, and we could talk about lots of controversial decisions of race directors in all sorts of racing, F1 included, and their job is just as difficult as everybody else's, and sometimes they've got less resources than people do in the teams, especially in a Formula 1 team. But in a Formula E team, everyone's trying to help each other because there's not that much resource. and I find it's amazing in a high pressure situation. Try and make decisions quickly and get everyone coordinated is really difficult.
So we've been on the safety car for 6 minutes. We already had
in this lap, Josh.
Yes. Oh, that's good. So we already had one added lap. Now we're going to have the second added lap. So this only applies to 2 extra laps, I understand. So this is on the information I've got. On the what Scott Elkin, sorry, Pablo Martino sent it out, actually, the head of Sporting Matters sent this document out. It's 2 laps within 7 minutes. We're at 6:33. The safety car stops at 6:36. So we'll have 2 extra laps, one for the first safety car, one for the second safety car. Let's hope we can actually get some racing. We've had 9 laps, now on to lap 10. We've only done 2 of them at racing speed. We're back underway again in Mexico. Degrassi leads, Dennis second, Hughes third, Lotterer fourth, Verline fifth, Ticktum sixth, Fenstras up into 6th position. Look at that, that's Buemi, a little bit under pressure from Da Costa coming to turn 1. He looked to the inside to make a possible move, but everyone being a bit too careful. Hughes looks quite good, actually. He's keeping to the back of Dennis, and someone was making a move at the back of the picture. Regrettably, I can't see the camera cut away too soon. Getting exciting now.
It is, yes.
Noticing again that some cars have got the lights on and some haven't.
Yes, you're right. Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis keeps turning his lights off very early, which to me indicates that he's getting out of the power mode when he thinks he's far enough away that Jake Hughes can't dive one up the inside at turn 1 at the restart.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, it's 30% the drivers have got to save their energy, isn't it? I heard that from your own lips, actually. I was watching an interview that you did a couple of months ago. 30% of energy. That's a lot to regen in the car when you only have 41 kilowatts in over the race period.
I believe it's actually more now with these cars.
Is it more?
I'm not actually sure of the percentage. Yeah, I think it's in the 40% range.
Oh, Cassidy has taken 1 minute attack mode, so he is going for the opposite strategy. So he's gone for scenario 1, which is in attack mode 1. You have 60 seconds, attack mode 2 you have 3, and Van Dorn's gone for the opposite. He's gone for the first one to have 3, and the second will have 1 minute, so remember that coming up shortly as well. As that was again Da Costa thinking about a move but didn't go for it. So Cassidy will have 3 minutes left, Van Dorn will have 1 minute left at the exit of that. And that's the strategy we were talking about in the pre-show. I tell you what, the top 6 looking very close together. Buemi was having a little look at Fenestras, didn't get through. I'm still going for Hughes here. He's holding on to the back of these leaders massively as they come into turn 12. Oh, Verline's team. No, this is down at turn 9-10. And again...
Yeah, Verline has actually had a pretty good run so far because he's got past Ticktum at the previous restart, I think.
Oh, Ticktum.
And he's now closing on Lotterer.
Ticktum is under investigation for overpower. Radio, Dennis?
Behind before you take the attack.
You need 2/10.
And...
Will you say something, Mark?
That's a shame. Yeah, that's a shame. That means that, that's just down to a code error. Not really anything else. That's a real shame to have something like that happen to him.
Yeah, where is he? P6 at the moment as well. Started 5th on the grid and lost 1 position as well to Lotterer. No, Lotterer's dropped down, actually.
To Verline.
It's Verline, yeah. He's moved up to 5th position, yeah. Who else? Vern has just taken attack mode. He's on the 3rd scenario, so it's 3 minute of attack mode. He's looking on the inside. And that is, on the inside, that's Van Dorn passing Cassidy beautifully as well. And Dennis has taken the lead. Jake Dennis takes the lead away from Lucas Degrassi down at turn 2. And now Jake Hughes and Andre Lotterer right there to join the party. And look at that.
Oh.
Degrassi trying to go around the outside. Hughes goes to the inside as well. This is incredible. This is what we were hoping for. Hughes goes on the brakes, looks up. Lotterer's looking around the outside. Has to get back in on the inside line. And Dennis takes the lead and does hold it as we enter the Forest-Sol.
Now Dennis can surely make a break for it because it looked like Degrassi's now starting to struggle a bit.
This is getting entertaining stuff as well. Nick, you're a driver. Would you be going for attack mode right about now? Which scenario would you go for? 1 or 3? 2 or 2? Or 3 and 1?
It's who's going to blink first, really. Once one of them does it, they've all got to really react. If I was Degrassi, I would have taken probably 1 minute. Just try and get back ahead of Dennis.
Drive-through penalty for Dan Tickton for the overspeed. We knew that was coming, so he's entered the pit lane.
And he's coming immediately to serve it, yeah.
Yeah, and Cassidy's just taken a 3 minute attack mode, so he's on scenario 1. Yep, no, he's on scenario 2.
Evans missed attack mode. It looked like he went for attack mode in the shot a few seconds ago, and they came out just ahead of Vern, but didn't have attack mode.
Yeah, I
so
thought...
I think he must have mislined it up. It looks like Degrassi's under attack from Lotterer.
Oh, this is not going well. I was in the inside as well. Hughes and Lotterer closing in. This is getting very entertaining already. This is great. This is what we were hoping for. We haven't had the extended lap, by the way. I assume, Mark, the added laps will get added later on in the race when everyone's worrying about regen of the ability of the cars, right?
Yeah, but from now on, the guys know that they've got to predict those 2 extra laps, so they're doing their calculations in order to make sure there's not a problem at the end.
So, who's going to take attack mode coming through now? Yes, Dennis does, and he's taken 1 minute. So Dennis takes 60 seconds worth of attack mode. That means he's got another 3 minutes left later on in the race. Degrassi didn't, so that was smart, I think. Dennis, as you said, Mark, earlier on, if you're in front, just keep a clear head and take the lead. He's now got 3 minutes later on in the race to play with.
Yeah, attack mode's really difficult to predict. It's not really mathematically easy to predict when you should take attack mode. That's what makes it difficult.
It's kind of game theory, isn't it? Where you've got to react to what's going on around you and find a gap to get into.
Yes, exactly. And that's what makes it probably, again, different to anything else in racing, because it's not easy to say, I can make a mathematical formula for it. It's, as you say, it's more a game theory type thing, maybe like match racing in other sports.
Don't worry about Dennis, was what Degrassi was told about over the radio there. Presumably that's because Degrassi saw Dennis take attack mode. It's only for 60 seconds, and he hasn't lost that much time. 1 second is the gap at the moment as they come through, and now Dennis is out of that attack mode, and Degrassi can get back after him. That McLaren looking amazing coming through there. He's Holt in the back. Hughes, though, as we said, how's the energy? Because we haven't got that information at the moment on the screen in terms of percentages just yet. And who's that taking the attack? Is that Fenestras? Verline coming through. That's Cassidy or Buemi? Buemi.
No, it's Buemi's further up, so it's him.
3 minutes for him. As Verline's got... has he taken 3 minutes? He has.
2 minutes. 2 minutes for Verline.
Oh, so he's done the 2-2. I was just thinking, so he's taken the middle option. 2 now, 2 later. Wise from Verline. That's the winner I would go for, to be fair, in this first race, until you understand it all. Simple 2-2. Attack and defend equally in measurable parts. Cassidy's out of the attack mode now. My goodness, this new system is taking all the breath away. Dennis on the radio.
Dennis's radio.
Okay, both cars same energy. Both cars same energy. Mode 2 now. Mode 2 now.
Both cars same energy. Mark, have a guess what mode 2 is? You've probably used a couple in your line of work.
I think it's when it's the 2 drivers are equivalent on energy. It means they're doing a good job and everything's matching, basically. And therefore, mode 2 will be something about, settling down into the race, I would say.
Just a quick thing, I can't afford to type it. Tuga says, where can I watch F8? It's on Eurosport in the UK and Europe. It's on Channel 4 Sport YouTube. And it's also on CBS in America, but that's heavily delayed. We're more live than Eurosport. Here's Lotterer.
From last season.
Go and take attack this lap, you'll be racing Verline. Go and take attack this lap, you'll be racing Verline.
Lotterer takes attack mode.
Come out behind Verline as well.
That was crucial.
But Hughes came out just ahead.
Yeah, so Hughes stays in that position. Look at the, wow! Mega slide, and we've seen cars, Rast and Mortara hit the wall there this weekend. Hughes did well to defend that one as well. And look at this from Lotterer. Can he get the extra power to Verline down the straight? They've both in attack mode. No, further back. That was, I believe, Evans having a look on Buemi. Yes, it was. Stand corrected.
That's DaCosta getting past Buemi, I think.
Well, that's a fantastic move. And Buemi's on attack mode, I'd just like to point out. So how he did that, I have no idea. Buemi is under investigation for a jump start. We're just cursing everybody today. So Buemi jumped the start. That's usually a drive-through if they think it. As they come back, Roland's on 1 minute 18. And Hughes, Lotterer, Fenestras about to run out of attack mode. As quickly as I say, they do. Buemi's got 45 more seconds. Take a breath. I need another safety car, please. Let's hear from Degrassi.
Andretti running hers. Degrassi radio.
Take attack mode, take attack mode.
Take attack mode. He didn't do it. Yes, he does. There we go. And does he get out ahead of Hughes? Just about. I think, actually, Mark, it's a lot better having the attack mode on the outside now. It's more easy to get on the racing line, whereas last year you had to cut back on the inside a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a real problem having to go through the attack mode, so obviously taking it at the right time when the gap to the other guys is just right. It's quite a difficult choice when you have to do it.
Pushing hard down towards turn number 1. Look at that from Buemi, looking all the time, and that's some dirt on the back there. Cassidy as well, trying to look on the man Dawn. Didn't work out, but DaCosta's got some sort of I want to say, polystyrene almost caught in the rear flaps of the car. No rear wings on these Formula E cars, not since the end of Generation 1. Now the sort of aero flaps as well. Norman Nato out of the race, along with Bird and Frines. And
those Porsches are certainly moving up, aren't they? I mean, look at Antonio and Verline there. They're moving up, obviously, with the Andretti's as well.
Yeah, it was aggressive strategy by Verline, I thought, to go for attack mode first. The DS Penske's also worked their way up into the top 10 with Vern ahead of Van Dorn. So Evans, I guess, will be the next target for them.
I think...
Let's see, that you asked before about the questions there. Obviously, Stoffel is right in behind Jev. So not sure what the gap is at the moment. But yes, it'll be a bit stressful in that garage.
Oh dear, we'll have to get some tablets down.
It's 6 tenths between the two, I think.
Well, this is going to be fun to come through, but when we still under investigation for that jump start, nothing's come through on the race control chat at the moment. We've got a yellow flag somewhere on the circuit at turn 1, and so who's going to about to go straight on? No, the camera cuts away before we get there. Yellow flag turn 1, it's Eduardo Mortara! Mortara's dropping down the timing screens once again. I think he's just run straight on. No, he's in the wall backwards!
Ooh.
And that looks like a brake failure to me.
And that's going to be a safety car, isn't it, there?
I'll get my stopwatch ready.
Yeah, that's uncharacteristic from Ido. He usually avoids that kind of silly mistakes like that.
2 mistakes in one day. In the wall earlier on in practice 2, and he's having it again. Safety car deployed.
Yeah, James Rossiter looks very concerned. Of course, he used to be your reserve driver, didn't he, Mark?
Yeah, sporting director. He's a good guy. Really capable. Really impressed with him. He actually was a test driver with me in Super Aguri Formula 1 team. So we go back a long way together.
For 100 days, just under, you got that team sorted as well, and it was one of the best teams on the grid for a long time, the Super Aguris as well. I loved watching it. Everyone loves to cheer the underdogs, and I was cheering harder than most when Sato passed Alonso in Canada.
You wouldn't believe how much I was cheering because we went past the McLaren. So, actually, I've got on my wall somewhere. There's a piece of a McLaren that ended up in Takuma's in his inlet duct, and all the guys presented it to me afterwards. I've still got it somewhere at home.
I love these gifts that you just get as well, and to many
safety
people.
Car deployed, by the way.
Yeah, so we're out there again. We'll start that stopwatch. Here is the Porsche, third safety car of the race. We thought it'd be amazing. Eventful. I was surprised we haven't actually had a red flag. Yeah, we saw the replay, by the way, Nick, as well. I hope you were watching at the same time. That looked to me like the brakes failed at the rear, and he just locked it round because the car dipped in as soon as he was past the apex. So that was a very strange sort of slide.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. It didn't look like just a normal dropping the rear. It looked like something went at the rear of the car that caused it to swing around. I don't know if it was the brakes or if he was just a regen, that it went into regen mode for some reason. But it didn't look like a typical just sort of drop the rear and hit the wall.
He was very lucky he didn't take Gunfer out as well, because he was just ahead of Gunfer, I think, at the time.
I think I've just heard Lotterer has a problem with the car. Lotterer is struggling with something on the radio. That was what popped up when you were talking, Nick, and I put the fader up. So Lotterer's got a problem with the car. We'll hopefully have it okay. There's the TV signal back, so the TV directors are listening to come back through. So there's the attack modes left. Dennis is 3 minutes, the same as Degrassi and Hughes. Verline has 2. Lotterer 3, same as Fenestraz. Da Costa 2. Buemi only 1. Evans hasn't used it yet. He's got 4. Vern had 1-2 in the top 10. Safety car through the pit lane. Well, that's wise because they've got to bring the digger back onto the track. So
the good thing is they've done this particular removal just 5 minutes ago, so it'll prove pretty quick, I imagine.
Should be super smooth as well. We might get an extra lap as well. So anyway,
is that right?
Yeah, walking away. Oh, Dennis.
Back to the pit lane.
Okay, so we banked quite a bit there. Mode 1 is going to help us out with the restart, so make the most of it.
So I tell you what, Nick, you were mentioning about how the light wasn't on for Dennis. He's banked quite a lot more energy, and he's good for the restart as well. He's got 3 minutes left. When would you take the attack mode? Because it's already lap 20.
I would guess that means that he can use a high power mode for the restart in general. But I'd guess he'd probably take the attack mode fairly quickly. try and pull a gap on everyone else while they're squabbling behind, especially Degrassi, Hughes and Verline. They were all pretty close together before the safety car, so he'll want to try and pull a gap.
Mark?
Interesting helmet cam from Jev there.
Yeah, I was just looking on board with that as well. There's Scott Elkin watching on. Looking a bit like...
Obviously,
go on.
Obviously having 4 cars the same, if there was any problem with Motaro's car, they'll have to be a little bit careful. So it'll be interesting to see if anything, if the 3 cars adjust anything because of that.
I suppose right now you might be a little bit more relaxed watching the race rather than being there, because if you still had the DS powertrain, you'd be a bit nervous watching that with Maserati just spinning out the race like that.
Yes, exactly.
How is it going, by the way? Is it a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out there with not being at the track?
Yeah, it's been interesting watching with you guys because I'm getting more competitive watching with others.
We're more competitive. Brilliant. That's fantastic. I love that as well.
I think he's saying we make him more competitive.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, percentages are on the screen. You can see Degrassi's 2% down on Dennis. That's a big percent. That's a lot. So Dennis is fine at the moment. Verline 61. So yeah, Degrassi Hughes have used too much energy.
Yeah, just
Evans looked good as well. He was also on 61.
Then Verline 1% more than Hughes in front and 2% more than Degrassi.
Safety cars in this lap. It was out for 5 minutes. We'll have an extra one. So yeah, 61 for Dennis, as Mark said. Degrassi 58. Let's hope he can regen some of that. Safety car was called in very, very late. Green flag once again for the 4th time today. We'll go racing in Mexico. Who's got the best restart? We know Dennis has had some extra power saved up. We've just seen it on the monitor. He's pulled 7/10 already to Degrassi. Degrassi harvesting energy in towards turn number 1. Anyone going to go for a cheeky move? Vernon Van Dorn, as Mark said a couple of laps ago, are close together as well. So let's see how that one plays out. Vern is a driver that doesn't give much in the way of letting his teammate through. We've seen that before. Mark, you've been on the receiving end of that several times. Would Vern be wary of Van Dorn? Because Van Dorn is a very competitive driver as a world champion, just as Jean-Eric is.
Yeah, it's the first race together, isn't it? So they'll probably be pretty competitive with each other, and hopefully that doesn't hurt them too much. But going back to the Porsches, they look like they've got quite a bit of energy up on everybody else, which was the same last year. Mexico, they were super competitive, so watch for those Verline Lotterers coming up to support Dennis.
Yeah, Verline had 61 on there and a cost of 59, so a bit more than what Degrassi had as well. They're coming up quickly, and Verline and Hughes have been stuck together for the entire race. They've kept on the back of Degrassi and Dennis as well. A little bit of a mistake there coming out of the Forest Sol for Hughes into the Peraltada. And it's looking okay to me as they enter the start-finish straight once again. 4 retirements, 18 left in the race as well. Nothing's come up on the monitor about Buemi yet, and it has disappeared. I haven't seen a penalty come up for a suspected jump start. So I hope the stewards are not going to take too long in rectifying that, because we don't want to have to change the race result after, because he's currently running in 8th position as well.
It may have been, Josh, one of those marginal Valtteri Bottas Austria 2017 style, where he went as they were going out or something like that.
Cheeky if it was as well.
This safety car has been very good for Techeetah actually, because obviously he lost so much ground with that penalty. He's been able to catch back up to the pack, go into attack mode, and he's now trying to pass Muller at the back.
Yeah, he's closed up brilliantly as the picture fades there as well. Nick, you're a race director with the ERC as well in the Endurance Championship as well. Would you be more willing to put the penalties out during the race, or is it much rather wait until after the race, getting the opinions of the drivers and then going forward? How much do you like a 50-50?
I think everyone prefers it to be sorted out before the race. You don't want races sorted out in the boardroom. A bit like the Singapore Grand Prix, where we didn't know if Perez had won for a few hours afterwards. It's not good for anyone. I'd much prefer, especially as a fan, just to get it sorted out, and the end of the race is the end of the race, and the result is the result.
Move going on in towards turn number 1. Didn't think he got it through though, actually. Regretfully can't see who it is because the TV camera was a bit low.
I think it was Antonio attacking Finestras.
Where are they on the board? Yeah, DaCosta still in 7th and Finestras in 6th position. Cars look too similar in certain angles as well. That's something that I hope Formula E adjust for when we get to Diriyah in 2 weeks' time. We need a bit of a higher angle as well. But then again, high angles don't show the speed, so I guess like these are okay. These are quite quick. I'll tell you what, Mark, are you more excited when we get to Monaco for this specific reason that we're going to see what the difference is between Formula 1 and Formula E? Now that Formula E is sort of upgraded massively, I'm interested to see the speed times.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that, F1 has got so much downforce and slick tyres. That's the most dominant effect. But I do love watching any car through Monaco, especially down in the swimming pool area. I love watching the F1 cars there, and I really love the Formula E cars as well. They all look great. I love going to Monaco. It's a bit of procession sometimes, but it's great to watch the cars there.
Do you think you'll go this year then, in either EPrix or Grand Prix?
Oh, I'd love to. I always love going to Monaco.
Put it on the list. Go. Enjoy it as a fan who's still got a paddock pass. That's how I like to think of it. Enjoy it. Go and enjoy it as they come through. Just having a quick look as well. Dennis has extended that lead at the front. It's 1.7 seconds now to de Grassi in second, Hughes in third, Verline fourth. And I tell you what, Ed, it's not really the normal Mexico. We've had a few great dicing moments, but I don't know whether it's because it's race one of a new era, but we're not having everyone sending it to risk as well as what we've seen previously in Mexico.
Well, I think a lot of them are biding their time for the final couple of minutes as well, which are incoming rapidly. We're 24 of 36 laps completed. Dennis is currently looking to get the fastest lap as well, 1:14.19. So I think if Dennis can pull this off, then there's going to be an extra point in it for him as well, because I think Lucas, as Mark pointed out earlier, the energy for the Mahindra is just not looking as efficient, that ZF powertrain, as the Porsche. And it is surprising because I think a couple of people are going to come out of this and say that Porsche was sandbagging during testing, but I'm not so sure. I think they seem a bit surprised by this as well.
If you look historically, they've always been quicker at the high-speed tracks, and that's Valencia and Mexico. So these are the tracks that should suit the Porsche, at least historically anyway.
I just got a notification from Formula E to vote for your driver of the day. Well, can we hold off until we actually see some driver of the day mentality at the moment? I'm 90% convinced that this is going to be a 39-lap race. I think that's the thing. I'm hoping I'm right. I'll just adjust this graphic on the stream I'm showing you lot on the Discord call so it's easier, because I just noticed it froze a little bit. But a little bit of a slide there from Hughes, who's caught up to the back of de Grassi. I'm 90% convinced this is going to be a 39-lap race, if I've read the rules correctly. But when it comes to Formula E and reading rules on lap extensions correctly, I go into a bit of a Valencia. So I'm going to have to make sure that's correct. It's at least 38.
I think that's Verline Lottery using their last attack modes there, if that graphic is accurate.
Yeah, Lottery just said over the radio as well, used the attack mode. So Lottery is on to 3 minutes. Verline on his last 2. And this is going to be bad news for Hughes, because Verline's going to be mega quick if he can catch back up. There's a gap actually opening up. I need the telemetry screen. 1.3 seconds now between Hughes and Verline as they come back through turn 2 and 3. And last couple of seconds. Oh, look at that. That was Hughes on the back. de Grassi radio. Just a push. A simple push was all that was come through there. So de Grassi knows he's in trouble. He's down on energy compared to everybody else around him. Hughes can now sort of use that against de Grassi. And that Mahindra, well, several years ago, de Grassi passed a Mahindra that ran out of energy at the line. Is he about to be passed as well by McLaren? Coming close to the end of the race. Lap 26 of 36.
Yeah, I think we're about to see a few go into attack mode here. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, and there goes Verline. He was already taking him. There's a little bit of contact with the back of de Grassi. Not enough there to puncture the tyre, which was good. So Hughes drops down. Verline goes to third. Now Verline's going to be right in the back of de Grassi, who hasn't got a great exit, and I think he's already done. So de Grassi with 3 more minutes, but just the slightest of touches. Verline had nowhere to go, and now we're talking about the fact that Verline is right behind de Grassi. Could we be on for a switcheroo compared to season 5?
Yeah, I think Verline wants to make it 2 wins in a row. That's Porsche doing exactly what they did before with Lotterer, where they just undercut them.
Here we go. So into attack mode goes de Grassi and Hughes. Verline goes, thank you very much, and it's just sort of running into each other. How would
so
you...
lucky you didn't give Degrassi a puncture there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but these Hankook tyres are a lot stronger. Mark, how did you read that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting who's got to go take attack mode now. As you get close to the end of the race, you've got to take it just in case you get caught, another safety car or another problem nearer the end. So it'll be interesting how this shuffles out. We need to see those percentages of energy, don't we? Because when we see that, we'll understand where everybody sits and how much they've got up their sleeve.
Dennis has taken attack mode, as does, I believe that's Boemi taking his last minute, just come out ahead of Fenestrans as well. Fenestrans is all over the back of him. He's got an extra, well, he will have an extra minute 35, I reckon. Yeah, minute 36 coming down as well. So he's going to have 36 extra seconds of power. I'm hearing some radio in my ears. That's not who I want it to be, though, from Dennis. But that's not coming out quite clear. So on the inside, that is Vern looking on the inside of DaCosta. Hello, coming through again. So yeah, that's DaCosta, Vern 9-10, Van Dorn 11. This is getting tasty. Into the 5-6 hairpin, loop backing around into the F1 layout for about 20 seconds, and then you're into the 9-10 chicane. Dennis has got 3.5 seconds to Degrassi, so he only lost about 6 tenths taking the attack modes. That's actually decent for Dennis, who I think, annoyingly, Ed might be about to take the lead in the Grid Network's Pick a Winner campaign.
Hey, I don't decide how the races play out, Josh, and who knows, if Verline can clear Degrassi, then I think it's anyone's guess which of the two Porsche powertrains is going to come out on top here.
Oh, Vern's taken it. I don't know. Vern's just dropped down to 9th position as well as DaCosta and Evans go through. Is that attack mode?
That'd be Jev getting up to 9th, surely.
There we go. No, yeah. Okay, Evans is...
Yeah, Evans has dropped down to 10th. That's what's happened.
Dan Tickton has been given a 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Well, that's thrown away a great starting position. One by not his fault, two by his fault. Oh dear. But Boemi's been given no further action.
Percentages. You can see that's a pretty big difference. 3% to Degrassi. He's hanging on, hoping for another safety car, I think, now. He's in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, they're going to have to really light it up, isn't he? Degrassi, who was mainly your pick a winner, actually, Mark, wasn't it, as well, coming through? As he's going to be on the inside.
The Porsches look pretty strong.
Verline into 9 and 10. Does he make the move? Yes, he does. Degrassi has to get back of him as well. Hughes is at the exit. Well, Degrassi's going to have to lift and coast a lot as well and save the power. McLaren will be chomping at the bit to get through. Let's hear from Hughes now.
Train 1-2 right now.
Verline 1% more than us. Degrassi 2% less.
Well, go. There's the power
Degrassi's
chains.
in trouble. Degrassi's going to drop. Degrassi's going to drop quite a bit now with the 2%. That's a lot of energy difference. He has to bet on another safety car, otherwise he's just going to keep slipping down. They can all see him in their sights now. He's going to drop quite a few places.
Urgent.
I wanted to ask Mark, have you ever had that issue where your driver's not going to make it to the end? He's like, right, you need to start lifting and coasting at these corners, and they're like, no, there might be in a safety car. Have you ever had that argument?
Oh, not argument, because they have to trust the engineers, and a track like this, when there's been so many safety cars, you may have to take a bet, and which is obviously what they've done. But now they're starting to pay the price because they're getting close to the end, and you can't keep betting. You got to start saving.
And look at Hughes all over the back of Degrassi as well. I thought he was going to have a move at 5 and 6. He took a wide line, gets a straight line exit. Lotta is fancying a podium here as well to try and nip the pair of them. He's right on the back. Evans is in 40 seconds left of attack mode as well. I think he's the last one. Yeah, Evans is the last one with the attack mode. Everyone else has used theirs now. And it's up 30 of 36. Degrassi's on 30% of energy. Verline and Dennis are on 32 and 33, as Mark was saying. So they are changing dramatically. Fenestrans, look at that, the Nissan, just hovering over 30 and 31. And Cassidy's got the best of the rest, as does Van Dorn, 34 each. Well, this is tasty. I'm saying that a lot. Tickton and Fenestrans will be investigated after the race for a safety car procedure. So the stewards have got in for Tickton today, it seems.
Sock is -2 on the top 6.
That's Degrassi, softest -2 on top 6, so that's the...
And move from Da
tyres.
Costa on Fenestraz to get up to 7th.
So Da Costa moves up as well. We're watching the battle for 3rd position, the podium positions. Verline already into 2nd. He's 4.2 seconds behind Jake Dennis at the moment. Can Hughes steal the podium away from Degrassi on debut? He can't get into 9 and 10.
Yeah, 2% extra energy. He'll take him at some point. That's why they said -2 on the top 6. I'll take a photo of the percentages and then have a look at them. Yeah, Degrassi's going to be in trouble at some point. He's betting on something changing.
Team principal doing exactly what I do in the commentary box, photo and take a look, because you often see me taking that. This is Verline making the move at the chicane. What do you make of that one then, Nick?
Very clean. Obviously, Degrassi was just coming to left and coast more. Verline didn't need to do that, so through he went.
Same energy to the leader. You've got 2% more than the car behind. So just focus on efficiency, mate.
Okay, so Verline's been told just focus on efficiency, pretty much stay where you are. 32 and 36. Haven't got the information yet on how many added laps we're going to have. I'm thinking 3, could be 2, but we're getting close to where we need added time. No less than going to tell us. Scott Elkin.
Not very stable. There's Scott Elkins.
32.
Well, that was Scott Elkins, the race director.
Fortunately, Oliver Askew talked over him.
Yes.
So that was a little tricky to make out.
Whether he was announcing how much added time there would be, or added laps there would be, I'm not too sure. But he was definitely wanting to talk to the drivers about something. Look at that. That's Dennis alone in the Forest Soul for around about 5 seconds before Verline crops in. Dennis is a masterclass at the moment as well. I'm sorry I doubted you, Ed, in the qualifying show and the pre-race show as well.
I hope that's the last time you ever doubt me.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm learning after 2 seasons working with you as it comes through. Verline's still there as well, 4.3. He's got, as I said, 2 seconds to Degrassi, but Degrassi and Hughes closing together. It's lap 33 and 36. I'm desperately trying to remember when I was watching the simulation race, at what point did the race director announce the added laps? And I think it was with 2 laps to go, because that's pretty much normal, isn't it, as well, Mark, to get enough energy?
It should be approximately 5 minutes from the end. That was what the rule was previously. So if we take 1 minute 14, 5 minutes.
Oh!
So
what's that wing? On the sorry to kind of question them up, but there's a wing just in the middle of the track. Who's that come off? No one's...
It's not more Buemi's wing.
Oh, is it?
Maybe that's what Elkin was saying.
Ah, yeah, I reckon Nick's got it. That's what he was saying about the wing on the exit of the track. Yeah, go on, Mark. Sorry to kind of crush you there.
yeah, so normally it was 5 minutes before the end. So if it was 36 laps, 5 minutes. Just doing the calculation here. My phone is telling me it's going flat.
Happens in the commentary
There's
box.
kind of an irony there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should get it now. Wow! Okay, I've massively miscalculated. It's 5 added laps. Where did they get that from? Because we were calculating it on the stopwatch as well. Was the fact
I
is
think
that...
you might have started the stopwatch a little bit later after the safety car had been called, Josh.
by seconds, but yeah, possibly. So it's not 3, as I was judging it would be. It's 5. Do you know what I reckon they've done? They've added them all together to give an overall time. Because in total, we were under safety car for around about 12 minutes.
Oh, Degrassi's getting very defensive now from Hughes.
So, 5 added laps.
He's in real trouble. Yes.
This is looking good. Can he? Oh, but Hughes is under just as much pressure from Lotterer. Always the bridesmaid at the moment in Formula E. Actually, Mark, I've never been asked that. We've always been saying in the commentary box about Lotterer being the bridesmaid. Did the team at Techeetah ever say about always the bridesmaid, always second as well? Was that a known thing?
You know, he's very close to winning a championship. But I think one of the things that really changed his whole thing in Formula E was when Sam took him out in was it Hong Kong?
It was Hong Kong, season 5, yeah.
Yeah, that was such a disappointment. He was leading, head of Jev, and then that really was a bit demoralising for everybody. So he was always up there, but Jev has a knack, of just finishing races and winning races. He's pretty incredible.
I'll always love that. I love the fact that we've been talking about Techeetah so much over the past 5 seasons as well, that now we've got the team principal with us in the commentary box. Fantastic, Mark, to have you here as well. Hopefully you come on a lot more throughout the season as well before you return to the paddock next year. Oh, and there we go. That's Degrassi under pressure. Lotto is on the inside of Hughes. Hughes tried to go around the outside of the 5-6 hairpin. Didn't work out. Now we head down towards the chicane. Hughes might have lost his one bargaining chip. Lotto is thinking about the inside. Late on the brakes. Nearly runs into the flashing red light for the rain. Effectors didn't make through. Lotto has got to pick his moment. And surely he'll be coming down towards turn number 1. Can't see him making a move in the Forest Soul. He's tried that once before. Didn't end up that well. Always thinking about it. No, stays behind. Well, this is tense.
I think the front wing must have come from one of the Neos, because both of them have hit trouble, along with Gunfer actually. Both dropped behind Muller's Act car.
My betting is Sergio Sette Camera, because Tictum was at the back anyway after his drive-through. So my betting is Sette Camera is the way that the wing has come from. Roland will be investigated after the race now for safety car procedural breach. So that's 3 drivers being investigated. We're going to have to do... Well, thank God we do YouTube Shorts now as well, because then we can quickly update you on what happens post-race. This battle, though, for third closing up. And Verline, Degrassi and Hughes coming through. Degrassi going to be on the profession. Lotto nearly runs into the back. Look how close he's getting, and he does! He touches his front wing with the rear diffuser of JQ's as well. That would be a bit of an alarm call for Lotto, if you could see it, that is. No,
flashbacks to Santiago.
Through the chicane.
Yeah, nothing from Hughes on the radio. Yeah, flashbacks from Santiago. That was... We were talking about that earlier on. Mark, was that giving you flashbacks?
Yes, it is. They're trying to get past, obviously, Degrassi. He hasn't got enough energy, so he's defending like crazy, but the 2 of them are going to get past at some point.
Oh, a lot of sliding there. We're into the 5 added laps. It's lap 37 now of 41, so the race would have ended. But now it's the added laps, not longer added time. So what we're going to see in the last 5. Oh, okay, that's new. So it's lap 1 of 5 in added laps. That's a neat way of doing it. Look at that, Hughes having to go defensive and try and break the aero toe. Aero's not that big in Formula E, Mark, but it still does play a factor in battles like this that are quite close.
Yeah, it's nothing like in F1, so that's what makes it possible to follow each other and make it so exciting, really.
Absolutely love it. Gunther's out of attack mode now as well. Degrassi just trying to save as much energy as possible. With 5 laps though, he's going to have to literally lift and coast and take tiny little sips like you're sipping a cup of tea on a hot day as well. And it's boiling. You just take little bits as well until it cools down. Hughes is literally pouncing. Degrassi was so slow through the chicane. Hughes is all over the back of him. He's sliding the rear tyres as we ride with Boemi towards turn 12 to enter the Forest Soul. I can't see. You've got a yellow flag somewhere.
Yellow flag.
Yeah, turn 8. Nick, can you see who it is while we watch this? Hughes going on the inside. Degrassi shuts the door. Now through the attack zone as well. Careful not to go over it. Can only harm it 5 times. Double yellow turn 8. Who is that? I can't see who it is actually because it stopped right on the line.
It might be Tictum. He's dropped another 7 seconds behind Sede Kamara.
And Evans has passed Vern. Vern's down into 10th position as well. Is that going to cause a safety car? Surely not in added time. It'll be virtual, surely. We don't want this race to end behind there. Could be... Mark, would they send a marshal out to get that wing, or would they leave it?
Depends on what Scott was saying on the radio. He can say that, be careful of the wing in such and such corner. It depends if it starts to look worrying.
Can't see anything through turn 8. We're about to approach that section now. It is a double yellow. Oh, there's loads of carbon fibre now at the exit. The corner when there was just 1 bit of wing. Now there's 2, 3, 4 bits as well. As diving up the inside goes one of the Jaguars. That's Evans passing Fenestras. And there is Vernon Van Dorn. Vernon's on attack mode. And that's him trying to pass. Evans and Cassidy getting involved too.
Oh, that looks like Jeb missing his front wing.
Oh, and Rast!
Section of it.
Rast's gone somewhere. There's an Envision wing there as well. Rast has dropped down into 17th place, so he's done something that we haven't seen. He was 13th, and now look, he's dropping like mad. Roland dropped with him, and now there's a yellow flag at turn 7 for Rene Rast. Oh, this is just... The last 3 laps have just been chaotic. Dennis leads by 6 seconds. Degrassi and Hughes are close together by around about 7/10 of a second, so they've just lost a little bit of time. But Techeetah has been given a drive-through penalty for leaving the track and gaining advantage. He's second of the day.
Together.
Yellow's T7 now. Yellow's T7 now. You're smashing this, mate. There's one more lap down.
Well, this is turn 7. Where is it? I can't see a car off. It must be the debris. It has to be the debris.
On the right-hand side, all the advertising had been rubbed off the wall. So I wonder if you look at the wall there.
Yes,
oh, Rast
yes.
stopped.
There. Oh, that's it. It's Rast. So that's the yellow. We saw Rast had stopped. He's come to a stopper. Hughes dive bomb. One car goes out. 3 into 1. Oh, be very careful there. They all make it through. They back out. Hughes was going for an opportunistic move. Lotte was going to follow him suit. But Wemmy might get a podium here if these three come together.
Costa wants a bit of this as well.
Go on, Mark.
Lucas is doing an amazing job for defending, given that he hasn't got enough energy. So doing a really amazing job.
He's having deja vu to when he was attacking Verline in Season 5. He's now having to do it now. Lap 40 of 41. Penultimate lap here of the Mexico City EPrix. And who's just taken attack mode? Mitch Evans has taken it. So he had one left in the tank. He's got 60 seconds left. That'll do nicely as well. Yellow flag is out for Rast to stop. So there's 4 cars retired and 5 stopped on the track. So 5 in total now out as the graphic updates on my timing monitor. Can't see anything at the moment, and Degrassi actually pulling away in turn 1. Hughes had a bad first part of the track. It's left him vulnerable to Lotterer.
Still nosing to the inside.
2 laps left, 0.5% to Hughes.
0.5% to Hughes as well now on energy. Degrassi's managed to save up a lot. There's the energy, as you were saying earlier on, Mark, as well. A 0.5% as well. Degrassi now down a lot. Bazoon, yeah, 4% plus in regen power. Oh, it's all getting messy into 8, 9 and 10. Well, who's your pick, Mark? Who's going to win this little battle? You've been enough of these.
I mean, Lucas is great at this sort of thing, so he's learned over the years, so this is where the experience counts. He could hold it.
Lotterer thought about a move on the inside line at the Forest Soul. We saw Rosenquist and Heidfeld do that in Season 4. It didn't end well for them in a similar battle that was close together. It's the last lap of the Mexico City EPrix. Dennis leads by 7.6 seconds. And Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, this will be his first win outside of London, right?
No, he run Valencia in
there we go,
season 7 as well. But 3% for Dennis, now 2. So it's looking like he's going to have just enough. But as for Degrassi, it's going to have to just keep saving and hope that Hughes doesn't dive one up the inside.
Yeah, attack lap 1, and then he's going to go through it. Lotterer tries to go around the outside, turns on the inside. Oh, it was a bit too late there. There was no way that he was going to turn in there, was he, Mark? That was
these two fighting helps Degrassi a lot then.
And Buemi, he's coming through as well. DaCosta's trying to look around the outside, the pair of them as well. That's brave. Keeping together. Verline's on 2%, Degrassi's on 1%. They've timed it to perfection as usual. Cassidy and Van Dorn have underperformed, and there on the inside, Lotterer makes the move for 4th, and down goes Hughes to 5th. Degrassi might just hold on, but there's a long way to go. But Buemi's got damage on his wing. Look, he's missing an end plate on the front left-hand side of the car.
Hughes now has the least.
Yeah, Hughes has got the least as well. No, he's just on 1%. Jake Dennis brilliantly dominates in Mexico and wins round 1 of Season 9. The Gen 3 debut goes to him with a superb drive. Avalanche Andretti, fantastic performance from them. Pascal Verlaine finishes in 2nd. Oh, is Degrassi going to do it? He's 0.1 of the line. It's like Season 5. Degrassi's 3rd, Lotterer 4th, and Jake Hughes is in 5th, Buemi 6th, 7th for DaCosta. Evans comes home in 8th, 9th for Cassidy, Van Dorn, Gunther 11th, Vern 12th of the line, Roland, Muller, Fenestras, Sete Camera and Ticktum round out the finishers. What a race in Mexico.
My goodness, there wasn't much left of Jeb's car as it crossed the line there.
Lot of gone. Let's hear from the race winner.
Brilliant drive by Dennis, though.
Oh, well, we would, but Eurosport typically disappeared just at the line there.
Well, felt to me like a lot of the experience started to pay in there because Fenestras dropped like a stone down the order near the end there, and we saw Hughes even struggling. I think he was using up so much energy to try and get past Degrassi that he ended up having a deficit to Lotterer, which Andre just took advantage of there.
There's a yellow flag now at turn 4. Mark, that was a fantastic race. What were your thoughts watching for the first time in 100 races, watching a race? Was that just as exciting as being in the pit lane?
I think the big thing there is for me is that the Porsches are quick. Obviously, Dennis did an amazing job, as he has done in many of the last races. Degrassi, really impressive that he held them off when he didn't really have as much energy as the others, and let the Jake, Hughes, and Lotterer and everybody fight behind him. But you would say the Porsches are quick, but they've always been quick at this race. So it's turned out to be quite an exciting race, quite good.
Mark, you were saying it throughout the race about the Porsches. Fantastic. As always, it's been brilliant to pick your mind as well. Nick, how did you view that race as well? First half, not as chaotic. Second half, it really kicked in and showed us Formula E is still the same as it was back in Gen 2.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slow burner, I think you'd call it, wouldn't you? A few reliability issues, which you probably expected, but pretty good all in all. A nice mix at the front with... 6 different teams in the top 6?
Andretti, Porsche, Mahindra, McLaren, and Vision. 5 in the top 6. Yeah, because who? Yeah, Lotterer doubled up at 0 as well. 4th place. Lotterer started 4th, dropped back to 6th, and fought back to 4th as well. Great job from him once again. The podium ceremony will be coming up. We'll hear from the top 3 drivers as well. Nicky Shields will be doing the duty there. Just want to say quickly, as we haven't done it in the race broadcast so far as well, big support going to Jenny Gao, who tragically suffered a stroke 2 weeks ago as well. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, Jenny. Get back as soon as you are fit to do so. Don't rush it. I know you said you want to be back at work, but take your time. We want you back 100% as well, fit and ready in Formula 1 and Extreme E as well. So good luck there, Jenny, as well. And this is going to be an interesting one as the car's now back, the driver's back in, and Jake Dennis, race winner. Mark, I'm going to push you because I don't know when you'll be back in the comm box. You're welcome anytime you want. Even Formula 1, come in and have a chat. We're doing all the practice sessions as well. Have you got an idea of who's going to be a champion this season then after race 1, or is it too early to tell?
Yeah, too early to tell. As I say, the Porsches were always good here, so hard to tell there, but it's good to see them up there, and they've got obviously 2 teams. Difficult to tell with Mahindra whether Lucas had a little bit of luck in the qualifying, but yeah, each track is different, so it's hard to tell. But certainly, yeah, I can't see this being how it is. Neo obviously impressive. Some of the Nissan, obviously McLaren's doing a great job with the Nissan powertrain. A bit disappointing for Jaguar obviously this weekend, and surprised that obviously the DS powertrain in both the Penske and the Maserati. So I don't think we can tell from now.
Absolutely. This is going to be a very long season as well as they come through. Results up on the screen, but we know that it's going to change a little bit because we've got some post-race investigations. Techeetah as one of them, as well as Fenestras. And there's a third that's escaped my mind that I'll look on the race control chat
Roland.
now. Roland, that's it, yeah. Roland's got it.
None of them are in the points, of course, so...
No, so that doesn't change it too much, but the race control messages as well has absolutely gone mental in there as well to try and look through them as they come back through. The finishing result, though, we're waiting to hear from the top 3 out there as well. And then we'll...
good crowd there as well. That's the good thing about Formula E in Mexico. Glad to see a good crowd at the first race.
Did Techeetah ever win in Mexico? I can't quite remember.
I think they got a podium once.
Yeah, I don't think we won. We've been very successful. I've been very successful in South America.
Yes.
Mexico is obviously in North America. Won lots of times in South America.
Get us to Brazil. Okay, here's Jake Dennis and Nicky.
Just describe how it feels winning in front of this incredible crowd, 50,000 people supporting you, and more at home, of course, as well.
Absolutely incredible. The fans here have just been sensational. On that final lap, I could really hear them cheering, and to obviously win by that margin, start in the front row, and to obviously get a Porsche 1-2 is absolutely incredible. So big shout out to my team. Such a physical race. These cars are so hard to drive physically, and obviously with the lower grip as well, it just makes everything so challenging, but even more rewarding when you win by 7.5 seconds. So it's time for some tequilas with the team, and incredible race.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of that. Just talk us through, because it feels like you and the car have really worked so well together all day. You've looked great on track today. Why has it all come together so well for you?
My team and I just have such a good relationship together, and we just work so well. When it's up against us like it was in the qualifying in that final one, we turned it around and made some small adjustments for the race and absolutely nailed it. So big kudos to my guys. I'm nothing without them, and yeah, this is just a small repayment for them, and yeah, hope to more success, because obviously Saudi's not far away.
Exactly. Now all you've got to do is reproduce exactly the same performance in a couple of weeks.
I try my best.
Excellent. Enjoy the tequila. Jake Dennis, today's winner at the Mexico EPrix.
We're going to go over to Pascal. Usually we do. Don't think we are this time. No, we're not. Okay.
They usually do a little replay and then they do the interview.
Yeah, and this is the race. Come on.
What was the lap times compared to last year? What was the fastest lap in comparison?
I'll have a look. I've got that data.
I think it was 1:14 was the fastest lap, or 1:14.19 I think was the fastest for Dennis.
And this
I'm
year,
trying to remember what the fastest lap was last year.
Well, I've got that. The timing results page as well. And luckily, we'll hear from Pascal. Then I'll get back to you, Mark.
Not quite the winners last year, but 8 points is a cracking way to start the season.
Yeah, great way to start the season. Pace was awesome. I mean, starting from P6 to end up in P2 was really, really good. So I'm very grateful for the car that my team gave me this weekend. And yeah, I think the last couple of months we really put in some hard work, especially also the last couple of weeks after Valencia. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone in the team for the hard work. And yeah, we have a clear goal this season, and that's the best way to start it.
And it looked like energy management was really good for you guys as well.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like the pace in the race was really good. Even in qualifying, all the Porsche cars were super strong. So yeah, we hope just that it's not a one-off. We keep working hard. You know, last year Mexico has also been our best race, so we just need to make sure to keep working hard, to understand the car really, really good, and then to make progress. And like I said, we want to fight for the championship, and it's a good way to start.
Absolutely, onwards and upwards. Thanks very much. Pascal Wehrlein.
Annoyingly, it was a 109.877, but that's because we have the chicane at 9 and 10. So I would say, without that, I think they're around about the same. But that was to be expected, because it's going to take a couple of years for Gen 3 to really...
Yeah, I think the only thing you could really compare, maybe top speed at the end of the straight.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's have a look. What was the top speed that they managed, if it tells us on here? We're looking at the moment. And tell me the speed trap. I need the speed trap analysis. Best sectors. Here we go.
Well, it was 40 laps last year and only 36 this year.
Yeah.
So again, the race time would have been overall longer last year.
Let's hear from Lucas de Grassi. Sector 1 stayed the
But
same.
that was a phenomenal performance.
Thank you very much. It was a very, very tough race. Of course, we are not in this race. We know that the Porsches are extremely fast. Remember last year that they won 1 and 2 and they disappeared. So it was impossible to hold Jake and Pascal. I was running low on energy, but I tried to defend as much as I could. And in the end, the podium is like a win to us. We did only 3-4 days with this car. It's still so much potential to take it out. I'm super happy.
Well, enjoy the celebrations, and we can't wait to see what you can do in Saudi. Thanks very much.
Well, Lucas de Grassi is there, and I tell you what, this might answer your question, Mark, as well, because Pascal Wehrlein, Sector 1, because Sector 1 has stayed the same across the 2 seasons. So Sector 1 this year was a 22.891 by Wehrlein on his fastest middle sector. Fastest first sector, he's done it overall. Fastest overall first sector last year was Lucas de Grassi at 23.356. So we're around about 0.5 faster, I would say, than last year's Gen 2, which is impressive.
Okay, that's coming out well.
Yeah, and there's more development to come, surely, as the teams get to grips with this car. And indeed, when next season, when Techeetah comes back and shows them all how it's done, I'm sure.
I hope so. Although I'm kind of missing not being in the com box, actually. It's going to be very weird because not only I don't think you're in the next one, Mark, in Diriyah, I definitely know Ed's not in Diriyah as well.
The less said about that, the better, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but I don't know where you're going to be, Nick, actually, because I know Tom Dillon's joining us in the com box. Where are you?
I'll be here if you want me.
Oh, I'll have you. Always need it.
I've just read they were having some software issues with the cars, so that's why the indicator lights weren't working for attack mode and stuff.
Ah, brilliant. I was wondering why, because it was usually that means they're regenerating the energy, doesn't it? So it explains that.
Sometimes if it's at the rear, it can be a little bit of a safety issue if the car behind can't see that the car in front's regenerating in time. That might have been the cause of some of the accidents that we missed on camera, but we certainly saw the debris of later on.
Yeah, TV direction this weekend's been a little bit off for me.
Well, they couldn't have caught everything. They focused more on the lead battle, which is genuinely the right approach, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but it was like even in practice, it was like there was a couple of moments that I was seeing on the timing screen that there was constant yellow flags, and it was runoffs at turn 1, but we didn't know who was running off. So sometimes that's a bit hard to tell the picture as well. But hopefully as well, Mark, you've got the data that we had up in the comms box. I sent them over in the email with the timing screens and everything. But how much information do you have in the garage then? Because you've got a driver tracker and presumably a lot more data with timings than we have.
Yeah, there's GPS traces, and I'm just looking at the data now, and we don't get speed traps, do we, like in F1? So you can't quite do a comparison. The F1 speed trap thing I think is actually better than this data. But very similar data, just formatted in different ways, making it easier to quickly see what's going on.
So hopefully we're going to get to the podium soon as well. The TV commentaries that we've been watching on the commentary was Eurosport at the moment, so on an ad break, which is annoying, but at least we had the top 3. Podium coming up, Jake Dennis, a 1:14.195, so he'll get the extra bonus point. So Degrassi got 3 points for the pole. He'll get 15 for the wins. That takes it up to the 18. 16, 17, 18, yeah. So he scores the same points as Verline, so they're level on the championship. Dennis leads on 26 points because he got the bonus point for fastest lap. So that's a good gap in the championship going into a double header in Diriyah, where Dennis does well at the doubles. He should do well in Diriyah. That's a lot of D's to say in one sentence as well. I was trying to roll off the tongue there, but how much did you prefer the doubles headers, Mark, compared to the single headers? Because it's sort of more. It's more entertaining as well, knowing that if you make a mistake on day 1, you've got day 2 to improve on.
A lot more work as well, Josh.
That's true. 2 races in 1.
I suppose it's bad for everybody, like in Berlin when Antonio was so quick on the first day. Then we had 6 races and everyone was disheartened in other teams, not us, because he suddenly came out of the box quick. So I think if you're quick at a circuit, 2 races in a row is great. If you're not, it's probably a little bit demoralising, although you can try and catch up. I suppose it doesn't really matter so much. It probably comes down to if you're not great at that track, you don't really want to.
I tell you what, though, Mark, as well, one of the most annoying things was waiting for Formula E to return after COVID, having 6 races in 9 days, and you go and win it on day 5. Thanks for that.
That was one of the best things ever, though, because we did it in the way that we wanted to. So that was one of my favourite times.
Yeah, half the.
I'm so glad we didn't have the whole season curtailed, because that was a real possibility at one point.
It was.
Yes.
I tell you what, though.
Indeed.
It was Glastonbury for Formula E fans. I wish we could have had people on site, but it was during the middle of COVID. It was done as safely as possible, but it was a right old laugh. I believe, actually, Formula E is the only sport to have had a race on every single day of the week, because we did it on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Because we raced in Friday in Saudi Arabia and Saturday. We did Monday and Tuesday for one of the Formula E races in Berlin. Then we did a Wednesday, Thursday, alternating, didn't we? So it's quite. I think we're the only championship to do that, and we've done a Sunday, obviously.
That makes sense. Yes.
I love it if Formula 1 did that, but then again, I'm getting curtailed by the fact they're racing on Saturday. But it's Sunday for us. I mean, just makes it more confusing. But then again, not many people. I tell you what, though, Mark, I know you like everybody saying about change and all that lot. I had a lot of people saying to me last year on the practice commentaries for F1 when the calendar was announced, why are we racing on a Saturday? Formula 1 is a Sunday sport. It's always on a Sunday. I delighted them a lot by saying, you do know the British Grand Prix, the first ever F1 race was on a Saturday and was on a Saturday until about 1985.
Yeah, historically, they always used to be Saturdays, didn't it, Josh? And then it was in, I think, the 80s when the TV coverage started that it really started switching to Sundays a bit more.
Yeah. So, Mark, what do you often say to people who sort of try and gatekeep motorsport?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you stayed the same as it was, as we were saying, only 12 people finished the race. Historically in F1, it's everything else is changing. So you've got to change with the change that's happening. And if it's the best time to race at 9 a.m. on a Sunday because the audiences are bigger, or if it's a night race to match with European, from other races, I think you just got to go with have the biggest amount of fans, and you got to keep developing the sport. So you got to keep changing as the sport changes.
Tell you what, though, as Ed, Nick, you might remember as well, when a because we do MotoGP as well, the run of 5 weeks where my body clock was yo-yoing so much between night race, day race, night race, day race. It was.
You do realise, Josh, you don't have to cover every single motorsport series that is happening, especially if they're on at like the same time.
I don't, but I do, and I always find a way. It's like when Formula E is in London. In fact, no, even when Formula E and Formula 1 clash at testing, I still be doing Formula E live. So yeah, I'll always prioritise the racing. Onto the podium they come. I do cover too much. I was looking at the calendar this year, and what is it? Formula 1, 2 and 3, W Series, MotoGP 2 and 3, Formula E, IndyCar, touring cars for British touring cars, and then NASCAR select races only. And then I commentate about 15 different series. I don't know when I find the time.
Haven't they doubled the amount?
Esports as well.
I know where you're going with this one, Nick. Have they doubled the amount of MotoGP races?
Yeah.
Yes, they have. Is that a massive problem for me? Yes, it is. Do I wish they'd change it from the sprint? Yes, I do. But again,
I'm surprised you can remember all the statistics about all the different races across all of the different series and time as well.
Yeah, it's super annoying. I've got a massive data
He makes a
sheet.
lot of notes, to be fair. We saw that big notepad he had, this gargantuan thing that has everything written in it.
I'll send you a picture, Mark, later of all the stats. In fact, do you remember I showed you the comment books earlier? There was bin bags on the side. That's where all my notes are in files going back to about 15 years. So there was a lot of data as well. The drivers are coming onto the podium, though.
Yeah, the Andretti team managers has gone up.
Yeah.
Which is good to see.
You've been on the podium before, obviously. I remember many a time you go up there. What's it like on there? The energy?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, especially because you're so excited after winning the race. So it's a pretty cool thing, especially at a race with a big amount of crowd.
And it's good. It's lower down as well, so it feels like there's a bit more proximity to the crowds rather than some F1 podiums where I love Monza, but they're so high above compared to everyone else that it's almost like.
Well, to be fair,
not saying we shouldn't put the winners on a pedestal, but certainly there's something to be said for the more intimate setting of the Formula E podium.
To be fair, if you were lower at Monza, you'd probably get mugged by the Tifosi as well,
That's
just
very,
to
very
swamp
true,
you around as well. Can you imagine Ferrari win and the podium's on the start line? My goodness.
I think my favourite was that we've won at Monaco twice. I didn't go on the podium. We let different people go on the podium at different races, and that's probably the best one. You know, winning at Monaco is doesn't matter what series you're in. It's the best.
Tell you what, Monaco is fantastic, and Formula E I think has provided more entertainment at Monaco in the past couple of years. Although F1's last year's race was okay, that was quite a good race I thought as well in the wet dry. But Formula E, every single time we go there, it's just fantastic. It reminds you why Monaco is such a good race. I mean, Monaco is such an adrenaline rush when you're just watching it. I can't imagine what it's like for the drivers in the car, having to battle every single element. One mistake is costly to even a season or anything as well. A contract with teams, it's massively important to get it right.
Just watching through the swimming pool flat out. That's my favourite.
I'd say one, Mike, you've got to go to Monaco. That's the one thing, you've got to head there. There's the Lego podium. I love the Lego podium. Back again.
That's what I've been doing. Got the flags right as well.
Have you made modifications for Gen 3 then on the podium?
No, but I have made all the drive. What I had to do before was swap the heads out because I only had one body for each of the teams.
Well,
and we got one car for each of the teams, so I had to sort of economize. But anyway, Dennis, he's got to crawl through all of his team members to get to the podium, but he's done it. There we go.
And for the first ever time in Formula E, God Save the King will play. Never been played before. It's always been God Save the Queen.
Oh, that's very true, I guess.
There we go then. Jake Dennis, your winner of the Mexico City EPrix, and in his honour we will hear the British national anthem.
Do we have the copyright to it, or do we have to speak for it?
British is fine.
For the national anthem.
Apart from if you're in Belarus or Russia. But anyway, here it is.
Right, I think people have seen it.
And now the American national anthem for Andretti, if it comes across any second.
The national anthem of Avalanche and
I'll happily delight the Grid Network guys as well. Aussies need to get something though, Mark. Are you looking forward to the future then, especially in Formula One? Let's talk a little bit about that with Oscar Piastri at McLaren as well. Looking good, isn't he? A team that you love McLaren. You've said it throughout the broadcast as well. But an Aussie in the team, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Formula One, it's a big challenge at the moment. Obviously, the Red Bulls are a long way ahead, I would say. I don't think they'll obviously lose their advantage. So, yeah, but it's good seeing Piastri up there, and it'll be exciting to watch this next season in Formula One.
Hopefully, as well, if you're not too busy, I'd love to have you on for a practice, quali or race, whatever you want. Come on, and love to have your insight there as well. We've got your insight in Formula E. I'd love your insight in Formula One as well, as it comes through. Third place then.
Fun.
Lovely. Third place for Lucas Di Grassi. Podium number 40 in his Formula E career. He already is the most successful driver in Formula E in terms of podiums. He now makes it to the 40th. Second place, Pascal Wehrlein. Podium number 4 of his Formula E career as well. And makes a second place after his victory last year as well here in Mexico. But Jake Dennis, his first win outside of Europe. First win here in the Americas. He takes a well-deserved victory from lights to flag. He was always... I mean, Ed, you were saying as well, he was one to watch before the race started. You got your pick a winner, right? You lead it, by the way. But he took the lead on lap 12 and didn't look back after.
Yeah, well, it always feels like Jake Dennis was a little bit like Jake Hughes, I guess, someone who needed a big opportunity in motorsport to take advantage of it, and he's certainly done that at Andretti, with now taking his 4th win, I believe.
Yep, 4th win.
Number 4. Yeah, so I think this could well be the start of a title tilt for Jake Dennis, because of course he got so close in season 7 and then had that issue that took him out in the finale in Berlin, and then Nick de Vries ended up winning that title. So I think now, with de Vries out of the picture, of course, this could well be a best opportunity yet for Dennis, and all the balloons have gone flying, as has the champagne.
It's champagne time! Go on, Mark.
Quite fun in that podium. I'm just reminding myself that we came 3rd last year, and I was carrying the trophy back through all that crowd, and every man and their dog wanted to have a selfie with you. It's quite they're really into their motorsport in Mexico. It was great fun walking through the crowd. Eventually, we had to say sorry. We're going to keep going, because otherwise we would have stayed there for hours.
Who would the beers be on tonight then? Andretti are happy.
Oh yes, it'll be on GF, the guy that was on the podium. He's not only he's not the team manager, he's like one of the senior guys at Andretti. He's a really good guy.
Party time
Probably
begins.
Roger there will be buying all the beers.
Roger Pierce, of course.
I was just thinking he's probably down there. He's got the hand of the champagne bottles. It looks fantastic. Right, nearly done here, sadly, as well. Got a couple of minutes left. Let's take a look finally at the race results as well of the Mexico City EPrix. It's Jake Dennis who ends this race as its victor as well. Took the lead on lap 12 and never looked back. He wins from Pascal Wehrlein is in second. Lucas de Grassi goes into third. Fourth for Andre Lotterer. Fifth for Jake Hughes as well. Sebastian Buemi is sixth as well. Antonio Fils da Costa goes to seventh. Mitch Evans is eighth. Nick Cassidy ninth. And Stoffel van Dorn goes into 10th position. Max Gunther goes 11th as well, just outside the points. Jean-Eric Verne dropped out as well in 12th position. Not a great race for him after some problems we were hearing on the radio. Further down as well, we see Nico Muller in 14th. Sasha Fenestraz down into 15th place. That's a disappointment after his good qualifying as well. Further down, we see the two Neos as well, with Sergio Sete Camera ahead of Dan Ticktum, who's still in investigation. Got as many points there as well post-race. Out, though, was Rene Rast, Eduardo Mortara, Sam Bird, Norman Nato, and Robin Frines was the first retirement, not even completing a lap. And we're back up with the guys as well here on the main screen. Just get that off as well so it's not covering Mark's face there as well. Just coming to you then, first of all, Nick, final thoughts on today's race. It's an interesting season opener.
Good way to start the new era. Probably... Well, the last few laps were quite exciting. Apart from that, it was a little bit slow, I'd say, but a good way to start. The cars look nice and quick. They sound good. I love how the cars sound.
Big improvement.
So I think we're in for a good season, especially on some of the tight tracks. It's going to be very interesting to see how they do with these cars on the tight tracks.
Ed, coming into it as well, your man one, Jake Dennis, you picked him in the Grin show as well and here in the pre-show. I didn't think he had it in him. I was rooting for Jake Hughes. He dropped back to fifth in the end, but Dennis was cool and calm. You said on the podium, it's a title challenge, you think?
Absolutely. And I think there were a lot of question marks going in about how reliable the Gen 3 era would be, and I think it has proved to be quite reliable because there are only a couple of anomalies there, especially for unfortunately for Sam Bird and Mortara, it seems. But other than that, it was mainly a couple of accidents, and we still got most of the field to the end, 17 cars. I think that's pretty good for the first race of a new era and all the effort that's gone into it. I think Hankook did a very good job with the tyres too. So I think lots of big positives, great strategic battle for the podium with de Grassi just about triumphing over Lotter and Hughes and Buemi and da Costa. But I think Dennis out front has really laid down the marker, and it's up for the others to live up to that.
Mark, you are probably the only person who can tell us the big difference between the two generations as well. What stood out for you here in race one?
I think the guys summarised it well. Glad that it was pretty reliable. 17 drivers finished, as the guys said. That's really good. Porsche obviously really competitive, I think. A little bit hard to read too much into this first race here because they have been fast in Mexico before, but as the guy said, they look fast, which is important, and it was really good racing, I think. The laps worked well, obviously going from time to laps, I think that worked okay. Obviously, we'll all figure out the calculations at some point, as to how it all works exactly, but I think really good race here overall.
It's been a pleasure having you here, Mark, as well. You are welcome back anytime you would like as well, across any series as well. Thank you very much for your company here. Best of luck with your year ahead of you as well, and have you enjoyed it? I hope you have. Certainly got a career in media if you want it.
Yeah, good fun. I always like enjoying, getting involved in things that are new, and this is new for me. So yeah, enjoyed the night, guys.
Thanks very much, Mark. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Nick, as well. And thank you to all at home for watching as well. The 2023 season has begun, not only with Formula E, but with everything now kicking off. The Rolex 24 coming up shortly as well. Grid Network will have access on that, as well as USRN's radio network. We'll next be back in 2 weeks' time, though, when Formula E head to the not-so streets of Diriyah as well in Saudi Arabia for a double header as well. Ed won't be with us. Nick will. Mark, if you want to come along, you're more than welcome to as well. And then February, loads of test opens up as well. We've got the entire coverage of the Formula 1 testing across the 3 days as well, plus the Formula E race, I should say, in South Africa. Then in March, everything begins once again with the same day for Formula 1's Bahrain Grand Prix. Then 15 minutes later, the IndyCar starts. So it's a busy kickoff to the year. My thanks to Nick Owen. My thanks to you, Edward Hunter. My special thanks to our special guest, the Techeetah team principal, Mark Preston. Thank you very much, Mark, for coming along today. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time when Formula E go racing in Saudi Arabia. Bye for now.